so go let it go. Yeah, I know that you want me, What you really want, boy, let me know. Come and see how you are, look for my wine on my body. Guess it right now that I found somebody. If I give it up, don't tell nobody. Don't play with the thing, boy. Tell me when you're ready, boy. You know right now that I want you. Don't play around now. You know just what to do. You want to me, give your all to me. Got me singing melodies like na 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 na. You want to me, give your all to me. Got me singing melodies like na 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 na. Boy, I get it right now, and you know I get it right now. Come bring that thing for me. Oh, could you handle me? Because when I back it up on you, grind it up on you, don't be shy when I push back. Hold me tight when I wind back. I could tell that you like that. You know right now that I want you. Don't play around now. You know just what to do. You want to me, give your all to me. Got me singing melodies like na 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 na. You want to me, give your all to me. Got me singing melodies like na 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 na. You want to me, give your all to me. Got me singing melodies like na 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 na. You want to me, give your all to me. Got me singing melodies like na 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 na. You know right now that I want you. Don't play around now. You know just what to do. You know right now that I want you. Don't play around now. You know just what to do. You want to me, give your all to me. Got me singing melodies like na 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 na. You want to me, give your all to me. Got me singing melodies like na 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 na. You want to me.
I've been thinking about a lot of things of lately. See the way I feel, I think that I should let you know. I've been on the road, it was dark and lonely, slipping slowly. I was lost for a moment, trapped in time, but I found my home. Cool and calm, yeah, we're there. Give thanks to a life for my prayer. Skank on the beat like Slayer. Out here in the street, in the shreya. Don't think for a minute that we fair. Cause the energy, it too way up. Watch your back, never down, yeah, we stay up. Chillin' on the top, Himalaya. Chillin' on the top, Himalaya. Take time now, if you don't know how. Me I go teach you so this I no flex on. Bring the checks on, put some respect on. Me music, the lyrics are my weapon. Turn the negative into a lesson. Give the youth some need some progression. A little session, easy tension. No so the thing go on nice, alright, alright. Cool and calm, yeah we there. Give thanks to a life for my prayer. Skank on the beat like Slayer. Out here in the street in the shreya. Don't think for a minute that we fair. Cause the energy, it too way up. Watch your back, never down, yeah we stay up. Chillin' on the top, Himalaya. Alright. Cool and calm, yeah, we're there. Give thanks to a life for my prayer. skunk on the beat like Slayer. O.U.R in the street with no strayer. Don't think for a minute that we fair. For the energy, it too way up. Watch your back, never down, yeah we stay up. Chillin' on the top, Himalaya. We only do it for the day one then. Me never do it for no bag of fake friend. Me never run down. Me never run down friend. Nah, do it for the day one. Say me do it for the day one them. Me never run down. Me never run down friend. Nah, do it for the day one. Only do it for the day one them. One link and one order. Stick to me circle like bricks and mortar. Me never leave them in a wanna. Coulda late in the 90s, I just still gone. Me couldn't sell them for $1. Now sell me friend, me rather suffer like dagger. Coulda end up in a jail or a grave for me friend, cause you know that's a day one day. Me never run down. Me never run down friend. Nah, do it for the day one. Only do it for the day one them. Me never run down. Me never run down friend. Nah, we do it for the day one. Do it for the day one. Bust a toast for your day one them. The one you are right with straight to the end. Pop a champagne if you're really proud of your friend. Real soldier, we not really borrow knowledge. Cheers to life. Thank God we not fall out and we not no strife. We just cool like ice. Cause we no have no time for no like a petty fire. Me never run down. Me never run down friend. Nah, do it for the day one. So me do it for the day one day. Do it for the day one. Only do it for the day one day. Up all night, stacking up, it's alright. Coulda depend pon them any hour right the night. Coulda swing pon the left, me coulda swing pon the right. Not textile. Some boy them feel them too bright. Run around chat a lot of speed like bike. Them not afraid say them crash cause them verse in a lie. Me never run down. Me never run down friend. Nah, do it for the day one. So we do it for the day one day. Run down. Nah, we never run down friend. Nah, do it for the day one. We only do it for the day one day. For me day one day, me only do it for the day one day. Me never do it for no bag of fake friend. Me only roll with the day one day. For the day one day. We only do it for the day one day. You done now, we not really run down friend. We not deal with bag of fake friend.
Let me show you what pattern and style does look like. It's okay to smile, cause I love it when I tough man. I was outside, way smooth like melodies. Long day, boy, you know I got the remedy. We go chill, but this ain't on Netflix. Leg twist, appendix, shift that way. Beat Beat it up like a drum, like a drum. Chill down, real boring, sun fun. Good little gal, gun turn them for. Beat it up like a drum, like a drum. Chill down, real boring, sun fun. Good little gal, gun turn them for. Anywhere you wanna go, I know I made the plans, but take control of me. Just me plus you and chill, chill, can't see me, you know. Anywhere you wanna go, I know I made the plans, but take control of me. Just me plus you and chill, chill, can't see me, you know. Oh my, me scream and ball and beg for mercy all time. Empty a pistol, Mr. Soldier. Should I come here ready, but you know now. Yeah, yeah. Hey. Beat it up like a drum, like a drum. Chill down, real boring, sun fun. Good little gal, gun turn them for. Beat it up like a drum, like a drum. Chill down, real boring, sun fun. Good little gal, gun turn them for. Anywhere you wanna go, I know I made the plans, but take control of me. Just me plus you and chill, chill, can't see me, you know. Anywhere you wanna go, I know I made the plans, but take control of me. Just me plus you and chill, chill, can't see me, you know. Steam up to the roof, sink it in, let me tighten the noose. Bet you never love good, good like this. Bet you never love good, good like this. Steam up to the roof, sink it in, let me tighten the noose. Bet you never love good, good like this. Yeah. Beat it up like a drum, like a drum. Chill down, real boring, sun fun. Good little gal, gun turn them for. Beat it up like a drum, like a drum. Chill down, real boring, sun fun. Good little gal, gun turn them for. Anywhere you wanna go, I know I made the plans, but take control of me. Just me plus you and chill, chill, can't see me, you know. Anywhere you wanna go, I know I made the plans, but take control of me. Just me plus you and chill, chill, can't see me, you know. Steam up to the roof, sink it in, let me tighten the noose. Bet you never love good, good like this. Steam up to the roof, sink it in, let me tighten the noose. Bet you never love good, good like this.
Digging deep in the crates, deep in the crates, deep in the crates with Oasis sound.
Islands in the sun, islands in the fun. Welcome, welcome one and all to the land of bet. Trini to the bone, Trini to the bone. When they come to Bacchanal, well, they can't beat we at Trini to the bone, Trini to the bone. Look, sweet woman parade abundantly. The brethren, they full of energy. Some people say God is a Trini. Paradise are not convincingly. God gave us a spirit fiery, but nothing in the world about we. But look a smart man gone with we money. We still come out and mash up the party. Sweet, sweet TNT. Oh, how I love of this country. Sweet, sweet TNT. No place in this world I'd rather be. Sweet, sweet TNT. Oh, how I love of my country. Sweet, sweet TNT. All this sugar can't be good for me.
Now we celebrate. Now we celebrate. Celebrate with Caribbean. Whenever we celebrate, wherever we celebrate, whenever celebrate with Caribbean. Whenever we celebrate, wherever we celebrate, whenever celebrate with Caribbean. Now we celebrate, celebrate with Caribbean.
Caribbean Tropical Hard Cider. Drink responsibly.
afternoon, Trinidad and Tobago. Welcome to Island Girl Talk. We're your hosts. I'm Krystal Khayne.
Trinidad Shawna.
Neicy. And today, of course, is a special day. You know, we're always excited at the end of the month. It's the last Wednesday of the month. And this means it's time for Guys Perspective. We see Shawna is extremely excited.
Yes. We always look forward to the end of the month.
Yes,
and we have a special guest today, so you know.
We don't like to disappoint. We have the one, the only, the talented, the multifaceted, the tenacious, the artistic, the creative,
and the humble,
and the humble. Jaiga in the house. Put that camera on Jaiga, guys.
Somebody get my speaker.
What up? I want to say good afternoon, ladies. It's happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Of course.
So I realize that you all do this every month.
Every
month.
Every weekend, guys.
Yeah,
by the end of the month, yes.
We allow you guys to come and chill with us at the end of the month.
Well, the universe aligned
Yes,
that I'm here because I actually wasn't supposed to be. And we spoke, myself and Krystal spoke early on in the month, about a week and a half ago. And I really wasn't supposed to be here, but when I realized it was happening, so I said, okay, I'll do it.
Yeah. So, you all in here, the deep voice boy.
Giving us media.
The boy come to charm the ladies, yes? Just for the boy.
All right, guys, before we get into it, how are you guys? How has the week been so far? How was your weekend? Greetings and salutations.
Greetings. I must be honest. Caribbean Beauties had 500 tees to be printed within a span of like 2-3 days. I worked from Saturday straight into Sunday, straight into Monday. So barely any sleep. We're just going non-stop just to get it done.
This was the printing company that you work with.
Yeah.
Nice. I see. Oh, yes, you're real busy. I did. I checked you.
She did say something of this.
My
weekend was bittersweet because on one end I'm dealing with some family stuff, so that's taking a toll. But I was fortunate to see one of my friends succeed in his comedy fest. I saw you there.
It was amazing.
And
it was amazing.
Junior Lee, I
So
went
upset
out Saturday to see Junior Lee. You know the Laugh and the Have movement. So
Yes, and they would have been putting together all the best content.
We have been following this from day one when they started the movement. In the little huts where it was like $40.
Yeah.
And to see these talented comedians like be respected on a bigger stage, and even the surprise of like all these persons in entertainment coming out to support. Voice was there, Jaiga was in the building, the King of Soca touchdown. It was phenomenal.
Oh yes, I saw that pic with Marshall.
Come to fruition. An amazing night, and I just felt like we're going in a really good direction when it comes to the new wave of comedy in Trinidad.
Congratulations to him. He's a kid I knew for a long time. When he started Dollar Question, he used to have a thing called Dollar Question back in the day. The story he gave about getting the camera from his mom. Funny enough that I was right there in the midst of when he got his first camera. He came to my office to get some pointers and the whole thing because he really wanted to be this. He has his dream was to be a film director. That's really his calling, you know. And he started the comedy thing. He's just naturally funny. And I'm happy to see that he got the support from his peers. I encourage my peoples on my end to go down because as you saw, we all sat together and it was a good vibe. He has some great things in store. A lot of people saw him. A lot of people were surprised, pleasantly surprised. So I'm just expecting more up for him, you know, so... Congratulations.
Somebody's in good hands in Trinidad and Tobago.
Awesome. And I want to say on this platform, let me just shout. I shouted out on all my platforms as well because the first time I got to see him live would have been Sawyer.
Right.
I just got clips from him before. I've never seen him live. It was a first for me, and I'm officially a fan. So so much love.
Listen,
I've been
standing ovation on the night. Standing ovation. Yeah, that's how to be there. That's all we're saying. So when you see Laugh and you have advertised any event, any comedian, I think they have kept. Well, we get into that later on in the lifestyle trends. But definitely.
Did you get a chance to do your set?
No. I was there to support. I'm up and coming. So I normally do the open mic with them.
Okay.
I'm in training because they don't have much females to represent. So they push me. You know, like when you lime around comedians, they just think you're funny. We tested it.
All right,
we tested it.
Jaiga, how was your week?
My was the week so far, the weekend until the long weekend. It was cool. I did that same thing on Saturday. My Saturday was full. I actually had a class at the Roy Tech. I lectured a class at Roy Tech, which is quite cool. That's how I started. And then I did his show, which was really fun. I was really happy that I went because, as I said, I wasn't supposed to be here to go, but it was fun. I'm glad I went, and I want to just urge people to continue supporting younger people all the time, giving them a platform. one of the keys to moving forward is listening actively. Is something I always say, and I want to encourage more people in my realm. I don't consider myself old, but I've been around for quite a bit because I started quite young. I started my journey at 17.
Right.
Wow.
So continue listening to them actively. Don't just listen to answer, you know. And when you do that, you will hear things that's not being said that might encourage you to really give a different kind of support, because that's all they need. They need, you know, the right support.
You got any curry?
Actually, I didn't eat any curry for the long weekend. Surprisingly, I am on a personal cutback from that as well.
Takes tough on these ends.
I'm trying to catch back myself. I find like I let myself go a little bit, so I try to come back.
Just now.
Well, I know about the hot body part. More of a respectable body, I'll call it, more so than a hot body.
That works as well.
And you, Chris, Miss Busybody.
Oh gosh, the usual. You guys know.
Yeah,
That's the usual. Gigging on the weekends. I did a couple meetings for the show. That's about it.
Nice.
So we moving on.
Yes.
Right. Guys, of course, we want to remind you all to like and share the stream. Please like and share it. Post it to your social media. All right. And of course, call in at any time. You all see we have Jaiga in the house. So you know the time coming when you all can ask him whatever. So the number is 4664 O.U.R. That's 466-4687. All right. And for any artists that might be looking on, be sure to send us your music if you want to hear it. Play it here on OURradio.fm. Send it to music@OURradio.fm. Again, the email address to send your music is music@OURradio.fm. All right. And with that, we commence. Hey.
We made up, Jaiga.
It's a vibe, Jaiga. You get used to it. So the topic for today is toxic masculinity versus positive masculinity, but we're going to be focusing more so on toxic masculinity because it's a thing, and it's something that has been a thing for the last few years or so, right? So I want to start by saying, what does it take to be a man? You know what I mean? I mean a real man, a good man, you know? We all have different expectations and interpretations of what it takes to be a man, and it can entail, you know, a lot. But also when you hear the term toxic masculinity, it could leave someone or a man, right, feeling a little bit confused, because just the term alone could render you like, oh, what a toxic man. I toxic, I a man, I toxic, you know. Not all men are toxic, by the way. But what toxic masculinity is, and I want to just read the definition for you all. It is defined as the need to aggressively compete with and dominate others. And it encompasses the most problematic tendencies or proclivities in men. Right? Another kind of definition is it refers to the dominant form of masculinity, wherein men use dominance, violence, and control to assert their power and superiority. Right? So basically, in a nutshell, you know, layman's terms, toxic masculinity means, you know, how a man acts based on how he thinks or how society depicts that they should act. And it's not always positive. You know, it's mainly in a way to assert power and dominance over others, women, children, other men, lesser minorities, that kind of thing.
Hence the word toxic. It's not a good thing.
It's definitely going towards the extreme end.
So let's talk about it. Before we delve deeper, what does toxic masculinity mean to you, Jaiga?
Well, the textbook definition as you give is that, but it's a very broad spectrum, right? Because it all depends on time, place, position, individuality. Because you ask a question, what is a man? What is a man could mean a different thing to a lot of different people, depending on where you sit.
Indeed.
Right? I'll go straight into, like, let's say a daughter who's never had experience with her father. Her definition of what a man is could be different to a woman who grew up with a father, a loving father, and a loving home. So toxic male, when you talk about the toxic part of it, it can mean, as you say, for somebody who's not self-aware. Because for me, everything goes back to this basic emotional intelligence. So if you're not self-aware, you could tend to do things and expecting on these how you've been grown, or what you've been raised, and what you've been exposed to. What I will say one time, or dive into it one time, is a lot of men, especially black men, operate in that space because it's all they know. and half of the time they're unaware that it's even toxic.
Yeah.
Just
And
a
you have
way
to
of
also
life.
you have to also think about the systemic situation that some men are faced in, especially where you grew up, how you've been raised.
Yeah.
You tend to do things based on what you've seen happening around you, and you think is the right thing. So until you could figure that out, it's going to take a while. But one of the biggest ways to combat it is good conversation.
Right.
You have to be willing to listen. As I said from the top, this is something I really advocate for. You have to be willing to listen. A problem that we all encounter is that we don't listen. And let me tell you this, right? It's like, I have a pet peeve when people ask how you're going. People ask how you're going, not really expecting an answer.
Right.
It's actually a disrespectful question.
Explain more.
It's disrespectful
you
to
know,
ask
we were
somebody.
like, how you going?
It's like a good
And we
morning.
have to
You know,
how we going?
it's a West Indian, trend
Right.
because you think you're being polite.
Okay.
When you ask, hey, how you going? You're only polite if you ask how you're going and you actually want to figure out you want the answer.
May I say something right then and there? He's right. Because I spent a year in England a few years ago, and when someone asks, you all right? Or how you? Or blah, blah, blah. They genuinely want to know, because I've seen in many different settings where someone was asked how you doing, and it's like, well, not too good at the moment. I just lost my job. I'm looking for a new job. Do you know anyone? Da, da, da. Well, what do you do? Well, I do this. Da, da. Yeah, let me get someone to go. And they literally are invested in how the person is doing.
That's
and
why
I'm
you
like,
ask.
bro, that never happens in Trinidad.
Yeah.
I have the opposite
You know?
of that, because I was reading a book and it said, like, started to be honest. Like, if you answer honest, because sometimes when somebody asks you how you doing and you say I'm good, if you're not good, you're lying to yourself.
You're lying, yeah.
So I started to practice this thing. So when people ask me how I'm doing,
You say
depending on the
whatever it is.
person, I would respond. And I've had cases where people ask, and in that moment, you ask me at a time where I'm just not doing well. And I tell you, and you don't know where to go with it, because you just expected well,
That's
I'm
because
okay.
that person wasn't really genuinely
Genuine,
asking.
understand?
That's the point I'm
It
making.
caught them off guard.
Yeah, so the point I'm making, before asking anybody how they're doing, you two within yourself need to be really willing to listen.
Right.
So it's okay not to ask, it's okay to say hi, good morning, and keep it pushing.
Yeah.
You don't have to ask how you're going, because if you're not mentally or emotionally ready to hear what the other person has to say.
Don't
you dig?
ask. Yeah.
It's a good point for the being genuine with it, because it had times that I would be messaging somebody and I would go to ask how they're going, but I know if this person decides to offload, I'm not in a place for it. So
Yeah.
I'll switch out to, well, I hope all is well.
Yeah, no, you have to bob and weave. So going back to the question, so for me, again, it's about just understanding and knowing that, but I want to really just talk about the ways of fixing, because one of the things that we always do, right, especially when you're speaking man and woman situations, that we can argue for 5 days, we can argue for 5 months, 5 years about man from men, woman are from Venus, and all of these topics, because nobody's willing to actually sit down and have a conversation. And I always advocate for getting comfortable having uncomfortable conversations. That's the only way you can get anything done. You have to get comfortable having uncomfortable conversations. There are things that people are willing, like I say, the journey is about unlearning, and unlearning is one of the hardest things to do. Because if I ask you how to recite the alphabet from the middle, everybody will stumble. Because you know A,
I won't.
it starts at A, it ends at Z. Right? But if you ask the average person to start reciting it from the middle, it's going to take a little while. And I'm saying it can't be done. With practice, it's good. But to catch your bearings, because nobody stops to think about what's the middle letter.
12 letter,
You understand? So in a case like that, but she says she can do it based on practice and the fact that she gave it thought. So that's one of the things about unlearning. You have to actually sit down and figure out what are the things that you learned over the years that you know is not good. And then for men, especially in the Caribbean space, as black men, we been taught a lot of rubbish. Like lots and lots of rubbish, and never really wanted to admit the fact that we were taught rubbish. And nobody sits down and discuss it. Like, for instance, you hear words like, as you all said, toxicity, and immediately they get intimidated. You hear words like emotional, you hear words like intelligent. People start to hold on. Once you hear words like therapy in the Caribbean diaspora, and especially around men, they automatically think, and not only men, we believe when you hear words like therapy is mad people. You understand? Not understanding that it's way bigger than that. Times also change. We still live in a space where I have peers, they talk to them and say, how would you cope if your son come and say he's homosexual? They still can't even have a conversation about homosexuality.
Right.
You understand? So we have all of those things that we still battling with. So one of the ways to combat it is conversation and willingness to understand who you are and knowing that you have to make some changes within self.
Jaiga is answering questions that we have prepared for him.
So
we have not even asked.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yes. But listen, I just want to touch on something that you said before, right? When we were just defining toxic masculinity. I want to give the people some examples of what it is, like things that we see in everyday life that would, you know, allude to toxic masculinity or the idea of it, you know, especially when it comes to men. And people don't realize that it affects the men the most. You know, things like when a man feels like crying or your little boy gets hurt, man up. You know, big boys don't cry, stuff like that, you know, or if a man or a boy is inappropriate to what a woman or a child or whatever, the usual consensus is, you know, men are, boys will be boys, men will be men, that kind of thing. It could even, that kind of thinking as well can perpetuate rape culture and that kind of thing. You know what I mean? I want to like hear Jaiga's input on stuff like that, like the things we see in society that contributes to toxic masculinity. One of the
biggest problems and something I encountered, and only found it out when I started therapy, and how detrimental it was. And I can speak mainly about me. I'm very comfortable in speaking about my life experiences, and as I told you all, I started very early. In terms of one of the things I'm fortunate to say is that my definition of life is the two most important times in anybody's life: the day he was born, the day you figure out what he was born to do, right? And luckily for me, I knew what I wanted to do from very early. So everything that happens, things doesn't happen to you, it happens for you, right? And even bad things. And one of these statements that really drives that whole toxic energy is something your mom, your aunt, your granny will tell you, hypothetically, and we hear it in this space all the time: don't bring no late for school trend for me.
Don't bring no what?
Late for school. That is one of the most derogatory statements that could be said to a man or woman, but mostly men hear it.
I'm having a moment where I don't understand that statement. What is late for school?
Late for school means it sells the image of, as a man, don't bring girls who head hard.
Oh.
Right? Okay. So you're supposed to have an image, your grandparents, your mom will kind of give you an image, paint a picture in your mind, as I like to call it, plant a seed in your head telling you what it is a woman's supposed to look like, the type of woman you're supposed to be with. You understand? So what it does, it devalues women automatically. So you can have an interaction in your teens. Let's say a 15-year-old boy who's been hearing that since he was 5, right? And now he's in secondary school, and his first little girl is attracted to him. She likes him. You know, she's now figuring out her sexuality, figuring out her body, how she feels, and she sees this little boy and she finds he's cute, and they have a nice little rapport, and she decides to talk to him, and he automatically treats her bad based on a narrative that was told to him since he was 5. So he subconsciously might want to be her friend, but never carries it anywhere else. And because that snubs on her because you don't fit the mold. So that to me is one of the most, and it's something I use and I say to all the men I speak to on a regular basis, that, and I'll give you a quick story of what happened to me, and this is a real story. I grew up in what we call a nuclear home, very decent. My dad, he rests in peace, he died on the 30th of September 2020. My best friend. He was a reverend. My mom is the wife of a pastor.
So PK.
Yeah. so for that, you know how those things go. But I was always fortunate where they allowed me to be who I wanted to be. But he had some very weird rules, because he came from Tobago barefooted, so he never bought me a shoe. He said that men have to pay their way to walk on the land, right?
Oh, wow.
So one of the things, I grew up amongst only women. I am the only boy in, siblings that's immediate, my 3 sisters, and I have 9 aunts. And so it's a place that's heavily rooted with women. And me hearing that statement all the time really tainted me. Didn't know it then, only figured it out way years later. But I started early, as I keep saying. I used to have a little ice cream cart, a little parlor. I used to sell in the market. There was this girl in particular, I call her Leslie-Ann. That's her real name, but I just keep it a Leslie-Ann. She used to sell Corelli with her mother in the market. Beautiful black girl, beautiful. And at 16, you know, that's when as a young man, you know, starting to feel yourself or whatever. We had a nice relationship, and I mean, we were good friends or whatever. And that was the first time I really experienced how the misinformation could be detrimental to you. And not knowing it then, only understanding it now, well, years later, I shunned her. We were friends, but every time she tried, and this was the first girl who ever offered me anything. When I mean, I'm not talking anything sexually, I'm talking, but this is the first girl. I remember one time she invited me to go out. She wanted to go to movies. Those days, this will reveal my age. Anyway, not that 44 ain't that bad. So I went, there was a place called Presidente. It was a cinema, right? And she offered me to go President. And I was like, in my mind, are you insane? Because these days, going out like that meaning you're interested. You understand? So I declined and walked under the bridge, and she was always very cordial. She stayed, we remained friends, she remained friendly, right? But she was steadfast in what she wanted. And she's the type of girl back then, again, you're young at 16 and already navigating that, but she knew what she wanted. And people who know what they wanted are normally driven. So she had an energy and a glow about her back then. But she didn't fit the mold because she was late for school. She's dark. It just wasn't, but her personality was amazing, was bright. She was a great human being. So fast forward to about 18 years later, I was in Atlanta. And who I stumbled upon?
Leslie Ann.
I stumbled upon Leslie Ann, driving a big range, living good. You understand? She has 3 beautiful kids, a great husband who's my friend now, good guy. The life and the life that was directed by her. This is somebody who knew what she wanted, and she went there and she created this life and met the man that she wanted to fit that mold, because her energy generated something nice. And I always use this story to say, sometimes we block our blessing with misinformation, right? Preach. I'm not saying this story would have gone that way, like we'd have been kid girlfriend, boyfriend, and it blossomed into an amazing life. But I use this story all the time to show people how misinformation and the wrong information could lead you down the wrong road. So in that essence, I was toxic to the point of believing that a particular woman is not good enough for me. And subconsciously, I would have snubbed a lot of women. So somewhere along the line in my years of courting, dating, being what they call a hot boy in the streets, they might have a couple of girls who might stoop something when they hear my name. Because I represent that to them. It's like, who the hell he thinks he is? And honestly, I really have no bias, to be quite honest. But at the time, I always felt it's a subconscious thing. It's like what this did to us, right? Let's use this as an example. Bottled water. I come up in a time where we could have drink from the pipe. This was a matter of status. Why do we buy bottled water? Because we have been watching the thinking it's healthier, it's cleaner, it's the way to go. No disrespect to Wassa here, they take water, they dig holes, but more than likely the percentage of clean water in our taps is very high compared to the rest of the Caribbean. So you could honestly drink tap water and not die. But we already been programmed and brainwashing to believing that this is the way to go. So look how easy that started. That started with a marketing campaign saying to drink clean. So think about your parents. The first person who you believe love and trust you, the first person you love and trust as a man is your mother. When your mother tell you certain things, it's like I tell everybody, like nutrients. If you breastfeed and whatever your mom eats automatically comes to you. So your mother taste buds is the first taste buds you have. You will find a woman who could be she could be the sous chef of a lifetime, the biggest chef in the world. When you want to cook a pilau, your mother pilau is the greatest because that's what you grew up on. It's the same concept. So when your mother, and this I'm speaking from a place of a man, instills something in you, and that's bad information. A lot of our mothers didn't know they were doing it wrong because when I asked my mom, when I was grown enough to have the conversation, I said, why you told me that? She don't even know. Ask your parents, have a conversation with your grandmother right now and ask her why they do certain things.
That's all.
And they just know it by habit and they know what that's what my granny used to do or this is what my granny used to say. So this is where the unlearning comes in. We have to remember, we have to try and move away from that. And again, you have to be self-aware enough to know what's right and what's wrong with you. And your directional or moral compass needs to be intact. If you crack your compass, you have to know, because if it's one thing that the universe, for those, God, the universe, however you want to word it and frame it, we all have a conscience. We all know right from wrong. It's hidden somewhere. A psychopath know that he's doing something wrong, you know. You think?
I wanna just give an interjection because it's funny that I asked you what that was, and then when you started to explain it, I have presently been in a Leslie situation. I think I mentioned to you, remember the conversation we had?
Yes.
And I met this guy, like him, we connected as friends. And as soon as it was to go further,
he expressed.
He couldn't explain why, but he just not being how men would be in that situation. And then when he was like, we had an honest conversation. One thing that I like about man who could be honest. So he was like, it's just not my type. And that was the first time hearing something like that.
Yeah, but rejection is a blessing.
Right?
Yeah.
So I was at first
Let's
like,
always know that.
So, yes,
rejection is a blessing.
Interesting. All right, cool. And when he said not his type, I'm thinking like, fellas like girls with big butts and big, like
you thought it was like personality or physical.
Or something. And when he explained, he was like, no, he liked Douglas girls and Indian girls.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, okay. And I backed away from that. I would have had a conversation with Shawna. Shawna was like, girl, run. Run. And rested down. We continued being friends, but I already switched off from pursuing anything more because he's a nice person, right? So I just kept it in a friendship place. Fast forward to I'm over here trying to get to know John, and dude pops back up, right? And this time when he pops back up in a way to date, kind of more. And I didn't change. I didn't become Douglas overnight. You understand? And
Sure,
in a conversation,
some nice bundle. And
in a conversation with him, because he's a very self-aware person. So even the way that I took that gave him the thing to go and figure out, okay, why is this my type? Came to find out, growing up, his grandparents told him don't bring no African girls.
Same thing. It's
a
Western
children
thing.
To be a little mix, have a nice little complexion and stuff. And the reason for that was, again, growing up in the time that his grandparents grew up, it was a status thing, apparently. So
it's colonial misinformation.
Yeah. Right. So him understanding that now, he's now in a process of unlearning that, because he's telling me like throughout his going to school, like he just had a thing for where African girls is like to the back and everything else is in front. And he had met some really, really nice, amazing women. So he's now in that transition of that. Yeah. And I am grateful for him coming to that awareness. But it have a lot of men, as you just explained, they live in a life a certain way, but they don't know what is the roots of stuff like that. And for me,
hence why we're here. Hence why the conversation of toxic masculinities in the front.
To honestly catch back myself, because that could have been a conversation where I left that wondering if I'm good enough. Every guy I meet after that, I'm wondering, should I be lighter? Should my hair be more curly? You understand? So,
This is interesting what Neicy is talking about, because we actually have this topic as an upcoming episode. You'll remember? Where we talk about men, another guy's perspective topic, where we talk about men who may be in love with women who they might be ashamed of, or ashamed of dating or presenting to their families or their friends and that kind of thing. Like I've seen many instances where a man would date the beautiful woman that he doesn't really connect with or has anything in common with, or she's not even on his mental level, but she fits certain.
She checks a box.
She checks a box. And then there's the not so gorgeous girl, but has a stellar intellect and makes him laugh and is everything that he would want in a woman,
but doesn't check the box.
But doesn't check that one superficial box.
That's a real thing. It's very real. And I say, one of my mantras, as I tell everybody, I tell all the men every platform I go on, is your vulnerability is your superpower, right?
Wow.
Your vulnerability is your superpower. And for me, being transparent and honest in everything, like I have the slogan, lead with love.
Yeah.
And as I told you just now, every closed door is really a guided message to tell you that that's not for you. There's something better waiting. And nothing happens to, but for you, right? And I'm saying all of that to say, me too suffered with that situation. I was in the space of wanting the boxes. And there's certain things, especially as a black man in this space, there's a stereotype that I ran from. Like I was the person who wanted to be successful to the level of what society believes successful was. Unfortunately for me, so at 24, I looking to close my first mortgage. So you want to have a home, you want to have a wife, you want to have the picket fence, you want to have the puppy running in the yard, you want to have all these things, which is grand.
In the backyard too.
The swing and all of this, right? A little tree and all of these things, which is great. And I'm still for that.
Yeah.
Because I believe family is an amazing thing, but you also have to be true to self on your journey. And I made errors along the way, you understand, and had to make amends in terms of because you don't know. You see, what you said just now there was powerful because you could have been affected by the situation if you weren't self-aware enough to know that, listen, nothing wrong with me.
I'm amazing.
You understand? Correct. And I love you said that because that's my favorite word. Yeah. Like I tell people all the time, wake up every morning and speak words of affirmation to yourself. You understand? I wake up every day and say I'm amazing. I have a checklist. Like I am a real journal type dude. Right? I journal everything. So there are exercises that I do all the time, you know, like things that you're appreciative for. So every like 3 times a year I do that, you know, so things like that. So going back to say that I made mistakes. And when I figured out how catastrophic some of them were, I had to then go back. It's like a 12-step program for an alcoholic, for any drug addict. You have to go back and make amends, and you have to be willing to have the hard conversation. And not all the time you'll win. A lot of the times we have conversations with people based on you project how you want it to go. When you tell somebody something, you cannot control how they're going to receive it. But you have to respect how they receive it. You understand? And we fight with and some man-woman thing, and it happens too in relationships outside of sexual ones. Like friendships, people don't understand how important friendships are. Like I went through something with a friend when my dad died. The expectations that I had for her was like over the roof because I expected that was the person I could have just swing so immediately and turn to when it happened because everybody knew how close me and him was because this is somebody I take care of physically. You understand? This is a man who father was a psychiatrist too, so this is a man who by the wayside taught me a lot of things, like plenty of my lingo, mannerisms. I knew like my father was the most articulate person I've ever met in my life. Like I used to call him O.U.R. My father could hold a come here and sit down in this room. When he starts to talk, I'm telling you, all 4 of us would just be like wither away. And when he said 3 of us gone, and we like, oh God, you can't tell me 2 more things. That's the kind of energy he had, right? So when he passed, and I was looking for her to be that person, know her. You understand? And I got upset immediately
because of the expectation.
I never had a conversation. I was just cool, and until I had to take stock of me and say, listen, we need to talk. I need to figure out why this happened. And that's when she told me that how she didn't know how to express to me because she knew how we were. She was hurting so much seeing me going through that. She didn't know how to come around to be like, what you need. And da-da-da-da. So what she did is cocooned. She ran because it's like my friend is going to the dogs, it's to the shits. And I don't know how to be who I need to be for him. So let me just be nothing. So if we didn't have the conversation, it could have just ended up being a relationship that just was
she lived with one, and that's the end of it. I think in situations like that, what I've learned is to ask the person, okay, what do you need from me in this moment? Because I don't know what to give, but I want to be there for you. So how could I support you? What do you need? And let them tell me. And if I could fulfill that, I fulfill it.
And of course, communication, another lesson to take away from that story. Simple communication, just not having the communication could cause so much issues, even with toxic masculinity.
Because it leaves your mind to run on scenarios and overthink. And a lot of times we're not even near to the answer.
I just want to touch a little bit on what people are saying in the chat room. You don't want to leave our people out. We have Gail de Nobrega saying, pleasant good afternoon, beautiful ladies. Hi, Gail. Dion Carrington is in the house. He says, the emotional intelligence man boy, talking about you. He says, big up man like Jaiga for blazing the trail. Big up you, Dion. Thank you. We have Anansi again with the spider web. Anansi, I swear, if you don't talk to us, we just don't get it. Say something. We have Firewolfer now saying, greetings ladies, Jaiga and everyone, blessings. I'm here for this topic. Right? Then Dion is back saying, what definition was given for toxic masculinity? I'm currently pursuing a minor in gender developmental studies and my working definition is the over-independence on masculine traits and the exclusion of feminine traits. Let me just answer this question one time. The definition we gave Dion was, 1 second. Toxic masculinity is defined as the need to aggressively compete with and dominate others, and it encompasses the most problematic tendencies or proclivities in men.
And with the other one.
The other one? And we have another sort of definition as well. It says that it's the dominant form of masculinity wherein men use dominance, violence, and control to assert their power and superiority over others. So I hope that helps.
Yeah, just to give examples, because sometimes the definitions may not say enough. So Chris gave an example earlier where she said, if a child falls, you will say, man up.
A boy, a
little boy. Man up. Why are you crying for? Men shouldn't cry, you know?
Boys don't
cry.
Big boys
cry.
don't cry.
Stuff
And
like
toxic
that.
masculinity could even lend into relationships where you start to become controlling. So you're telling your woman, why you wearing that red dress? It's too outstanding. I don't want people watching you. All of those things are toxic, because you think to be a man is to dominate or to control or to give your opinions at times where it's not even needed and it's more harmful, than doing.
And let me just interject right here real quick. There's a reverse to that as well.
Yes, of course.
A reverse to that meaning there are women who were taught to believe that a man could only love them if.
Yeah.
And this is how he's supposed to operate if he does. Which in that operation is also toxic in certain environments, and that's when I see how it's systemic. So you in an environment as a young lady and your mom and your aunt and they going through some crazy ass toxic nonsense, and a guy very genuine, loving, doesn't know about that coming to your life and operates in a way where you pour on something, and instead of that same thing you said, we're going that red dress, he tries to uplift you in the moment and say, well, listen, you look gorgeous. She now says, you find this gorgeous?
Yeah.
If so and so had see me put on this, see that girl and so because in her mind this is how it's supposed to go. And I've heard it and you hear it in communities. It's like there's some people believe that if he doesn't lash me, he don't love me.
Yeah.
Right?
And you know where that started? When, when you're young and the boy teasing you and they say, well, he doing that because he like you. He does he hit you, you're
from a young age. We learn that violence means love.
He like you, and you growing up thinking, okay, he hit me because he like me.
No.
Push me
And
because he like.
And also starts from, it's what you know, as Jagger mentioned before. You cannot act differently or vision differently or believe differently if all you're seeing is a particular behavior. So naturally habit will come into play,
Let me just finish with the comments. We have 3 more. Dion is saying this definition makes it a bit clearer that both men and women can exude forms of expressions of toxic masculinity. Exactly what Jagger was just saying. Kyle Grant is in the house and he says,
Kyle.
what is all this wisdom? Did Jigga have normal boy? More power. More power to you, Khayne. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
He goes on to say, you're carrying on your father's legacy of sharing knowledge.
Wow.
He is shining through you like a sun, /sun, SON/SUN. And he said he would be proud. Oh, that's nice.
Don't make the man cry, huh?
We have Martin Laborde who just he says, greetings all. We appreciate the positive vibes. And that's it for now. But before we continue, I would like to just go to another quick commercial, Ananias, if you may. And when we come back, I want us to touch a little bit on the signs of toxic masculinity. Like, let's let the people know how they can recognize it and hopefully how they can possibly check themselves in the process. So keep it locked to Island Girl Talk right here on OURradio.fm.
Now we celebrate. Celebrate with Caribbean. Whenever, wherever, whenever. Celebrate with Caribbean. Whenever, wherever, whenever. Celebrate with Caribbean. Now we celebrate. Celebrate with Caribbean.
Caribbean Tropical Hard Cider. Drink responsibly.
Can somebody melt this icy heart? I don't know how things got so far. Been away for like a day or two. Now I'm trying to find my way back to you. Now I'm trying to find my way back to you. And I'm so tired of wandering on my own. Sometimes I'd lose myself. I'd get swallowed by the darkness unknown. Won't you take my hand?
We're back with more Island Girl Talk. We're your host, Krystal, Khayne,
Trinidad, Shawna,
and of course we have Jaiga in the house. Yeah, and you've been listening to Alethea with Back to You. You guys know how we like to do 100% local music here, right? So guys, send in your music. We're going to play it. We don't discriminate. But we're back to the topic. We're talking about toxic masculinity versus positive masculinity, but with an emphasis on the toxic because we want you all to know, right? And we have Jaiga here dropping gem after gem, letting us know what it's all about, how he himself has experienced it, and, just shining a light, spreading awareness, and enlightening you guys today on Guys' Perspective. But right now we want to touch a little bit on the signs of toxic masculinity, because we gave the definition and all that, but it might be hard for some to pinpoint what it actually looks like, in society. So we want to throw a few to Jaiga and, he'll tell you all in his own way what it is. So we researched that one of the signs of toxic masculinity is actually being stoic or unemotional, not being afraid to show any kind of emotion. Tell us a little bit about that and how it can affect men and the people around them.
As I said earlier, what I try to advocate for and teach my peers and younger men is understanding your vulnerability, how it could be a superpower. And let me bring it into like a real scenario. Men believe that they can't. All right, let me talk on something that's taboo. Let's say erectile dysfunction. All right? You enter a situation where you with a woman and you embarrassed to have the conversation. Not knowing that in that moment having the conversation, let's just say hypothetically you have the conversation, you express to this person, this is what's happening, and you were willing to do it. In that moment, that might be the person who can get you the real help that you need. Because the receiving of it, she might receive it, and who knows where she works or who she's associated with. She'll be like, hey, I knew of a friend, my uncle, this person, my mom's friend, a neighbor, blah, 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 suffer this, somebody I know, and this is what the things you need to do. But we close in so much. That right there is one of the signs in a real sense, in a real essence. And one of the things too, one of the signs that, let's say for instance, you have I tell men, having a child and being able to take your child on trips and buy them the new Jordan is not necessarily being a father. All right? There are certain things that you have to know, you have to be aware of. Like, how could you say you're a father if you have a young baby, let's say within the first 6 months, and you don't know the measurements of their what is supposed to their teeth, for want of a better word, like their time to sleep, the time to eat. You have to be just as involved in your child's life than anybody. But we were taught to believe that men supposed to just make sure that the child have what they need. You buy pampers, you buy milk, and the responsibility of all the emotional connections with the child falls on the mother. That's one of the signs as well. And let me bring it to the ladies. Advice I always give. One of the signs is if you meet a guy, let's say you meet a young man and he has a kid, you know he has a child, and he invites you home by him. And you go by him and you see no signs of this child. Not a rattle, not a shoes, not a bottle, not a cup.
Run for the hills.
Ma'am, my girl, get out of there.
Red flag.
That is the biggest flag.
That is a very good
That's the biggest flag you'll ever see. And that is when I will try to bring them as home and as real as possible. But that's a sign.
All right.
What about promiscuity as a sign?
Again, promiscuity. That is a sign, and it's something too that is wrong teachings. We grew up believing that you have to have girls.
Girls, pure.
You must. If you don't have girls, something wrong with you. So it's like, it's how men measure who they are. Right? It's so you measure who you are by the amount of girls you have, by the amount of girls you're interested. Now I try to push the narrative of it's cooler to have one, a real good one. You understand? And treat it like, it's like if you want a G4, right? You want a jet. So you have to consider it like, I'm not trying to say women are jets. Let me just clear that up. I'm saying you have to mentally find that space in your head and treat the person that you want to be with, your person, and think of it like that. Now you have the best of it. So your girl is the Bentley of car. You have the G4s, the planes. You have that, because who has 6 G4s? Nobody can afford it. The gas bill alone, and that's going to break you. And it's a real thing about women. Let's be real. To have 6 girls and not is very expensive. It's expensive emotionally, it's expensive physically, and it's expensive financially.
Yeah.
You know, so but again, that is also a sign because that person too is not self-aware, they're not mature and grown enough into themselves to understand that you're not doing anything. Who are you pleasing? Because you're not pleasing self. You can never please self with, as I call them, 4 different spirits.
Yeah.
Because let's understand, if you start to really talk about sexuality and what it really is, when you start to exchange bodily fluids and time, it brings, I don't want to say the word because it's taboo, it's a jambi.
Yeah,
say the word.
It's a jambi because you will be with somebody who's perfectly fine, right? But this is podcast world, so I roll, right? And you take a jam at the side. The person jam yourself have all that ghosts and spirits, and then bring a jambi into your stage. And all of a sudden, all of a sudden, thing off.
Okay.
And you don't know why it's off. And then when she start to ask questions, now you're annoyed because being annoyed is an emotion that comes really quick. And men struggle. And then women, there's a term that women use it is a trigger word for a lot of men. Right? I surely know that word.
What is it?
Which one?
Yeah, what do you feel is the biggest trigger word a woman use against a man?
Wait.
And when you're calling a man something.
A dog?
no, dog is nice.
There's a lot.
A narcissist.
A narcissist.
The new way.
Right?
Everything.
That's the umbrella. And again, that's a conversation that men and women need to be comfortable having because women have narcissistic genes as well. Just as much as men. You understand? Women egos are actually bigger than men, statistically proven.
Serious?
Yeah, women are way bigger egos.
But they allow us to have it because we emotional. So that's
correct. So under the umbrella of you wouldn't tell a girl you have an ego.
Right.
But if you measuring on the ego scale, women have some huge egos. So yeah, go ahead.
But on the point of promiscuity, though, I wanna where toxic masculinity comes in, though, I think is where you guys are allowed to have multiple partners, and you're deemed,
We're not allowed. That's what I'm telling you. See, it's a misconception. We believe that we can. We're not allowed because you gotta pass for so many years, right? It's like slavery, right?
Yeah.
We've been enslaved mentally for so long. So a lot of the things that we do, we just kind of look over it because it's like a whatever.
Yeah.
We in the last 50 years, right? Let's bring it here. In the last 50 years in this space in Trinidad and Tobago, the terms horn and cheat and thing has become desensitized. It's like women tell each other, "What's a small horn?" But the man horn here, but like everything.
That is what the culture is pushing.
He paying the bills. He doing
the culture
it,
pushes it because it's easy. Nobody wants the hard stuff. Nobody's ever liked to talk the hard stuff. The hard stuff because it's hard. Nobody wants to deal with hard. So the easiest thing to say is like, "Oh God, you're good." You understand? Until you're willing to have the real conversation and say, "Hey, like for me." Like cheating in its essence, like a lot of people think it's just the physical act, right? It took me a while to realize that you can emotionally cheat on somebody in a big way when you're just not on them. You're not sleeping with nobody else, but you're really not interested in the person no other way than sexual. So that too is cheating because you're cheating them of a good life. You understand? So these conversations, as I say, is hard ones to have. So when you say men are allowed, we're not allowed to have more. Society just leave us to do garbage for a long time, so we get accustomed doing it.
So let me rephrase it. So it's a societal norm where men believe that it's okay to have multiple partners. However, the toxicity of it comes in when women who have multiple partners are shunned and deemed sluts. So
that's who's also changing.
Yeah.
Let us be real. That
Slowly.
That it used to be that way. Now women who had multiple men are considered professionals. And men and girls who had one man is considered boring.
You know what's the funny thing to me in this?
Still a level of toxicity in
No,
there,
it is. But I'm just saying that's how it's looked at now.
Yes.
While they're going in that direction, like I've seen cases where men who actually want to be traditional and want to marry one woman and stay loyal and faithful feeling embarrassed with their peers to say, well, that is what they desire, because the men around them are saying, well, you're going to be with one woman for the rest of your life. When you understand?
Yeah,
that's
something.
Structure of that doesn't support it because everything is so focused on this side that when you want to come and do something that is now being deemed abnormal, the normal some years ago is now considering why you want to even go in that direction, you know?
Because they don't want to put in the work. And as he mentioned, it's easy to go the route of many women, but you're not really truly facing yourself and the issues
because with many women, as you say, it doesn't require work.
Yeah. It's kind of sad too. Story time. Just a story. So I know someone who is well past the 60s, right? Decent looking individual for his age, but he is old, right? But he lived the life of a woman man, a womanizer, a girl's man, a gallus. That's what they call it. So a top dog. And very much the alpha male. But I don't think that he has come to terms with the fact that he is now considered old. So it never married and any of that. So even now, he still brags about how many young women he can get. He gets women less than half his age, you know what I mean? And it's just a little bit sad to see because he thinks that when bragging about all the women that he can get, he thinks that it's a pips. But I think he fails to see that when he looks around, like everybody's just like, no, this ain't it. You know, this is whatever you think it is. It's not.
But that's when he's in the wrong room.
Yeah.
That's what happened. When you're in the wrong room, that happens.
No one says anything because no one wants to make him feel old. But when the actual truth is, these girls see him as a sugar daddy. Yeah. You know, and that's all you are. They don't really want you. They
don't
want
have any genuine love around you to nurture you. What happens when you're on your deathbed? Who's going to come, you know?
So it begs the question is like, what why doing it? Like Rudy says, why really doing it? Because that's really just not the way to go. It's not a pips to have 6 and 7 women. Yeah. It's expensive, like Jaiga said.
I get, and to my dudes out there who I try to break it down, we all been there. Yeah. I'm not going to come here and try to be no angel. I'm definitely not a saint. As I say, I try to live my life now very transparent. I have made a lot of mistakes. I did the cardinal sin, which I thought I would never end up. I am a statistic. I'm a guy who have an ex-wife, 2 children, 2 different mothers. I am the typical black waste story, for want of a better word. But I have found a way to come out better than I was. Yeah. And I strive every day to be better, to be better me, a better version of me. And what I try to tell men to bring it down to make dollars and cents is, bro, it is expensive. It is expensive to try and run on a life because your bottom line is never going to balance out. It's never ever going to balance out.
Is that the only reason you can get them on though?
Well, you have to get in life. You have to get down. You have to. It's like it's like what's going on with Khayne right now. In order for Khayne to pipe down, they had to take the money. So yesterday he was a billionaire. Now he's not. Right? He lost $1.7 billion in hours. Right? And this is the only way sometimes you have to get to some people. Like me, one of the other ways I get to people, I have no association, no friendships, no heal, no with men who don't care who don't take care of the kids. You cannot ever go on any platform, go anywhere and say, yeah, Jack is my boy. And I can never be a boy if you don't take care of your children. And that's just how I stand.
I know who you are.
Because that is not me. I'm a very active and involved father. I live for that. That is what I live for. And I realize that, and it's something I pull people up all the time, is doing something for your child is not a favor. Some people have this notion that, well, I can't buy any clothes and give me, bro, that is not a favor. That is your responsibility. So from the time you have the mindset that you're doing them a favor, you can't rule in my space. So you too have to protect your energy and your space. So how I try to tell them is, in order to protect your energy and to have good things down the road, because we could all be the 60-something-year-old guy talking about, I did this and I did this and I did that and I did that. But as she just said, you're going to end up on that deathbed and that sick bed and with absolutely nothing. And you have to know from early, like my father taught me, a man's journey in life, his biggest mission is to prepare his children for his passing. Right? I have conversations with my daughters all the time to mentally prepare them that I'm not going to be here, that pillar that I represent. So you have to do and take all the steps necessary to know that when I'm gone, at least the legacy I want to leave is to give you a foundation and a platform that you can stand on, a solid pillar, so that, and expose them to things that nobody could take them for granted for. You understand? Because one of the things I call it being fortunate. Unfortunately, I have dated tons of women with, as they quote unquote in air quotes, daddy issues. But I consider it now fortunate because now I'm in a better mental space where I can use the information that I have, and every teaching that I go through, every class that I take, everywhere that I stand, to use what I know now to help somebody else. Like I honestly believe me going through what I went through, being married, being divorced, was all part of a bigger purpose. And the purpose is to make sure that the people coming after me, I can try and fix some. because I can give you the stories. Ain't nobody can tell me about the whole. I could talk the pretty boy thing and the running. I could do that.
Yeah.
But I can do it from a place of knowing, understanding, and showing you the benefits of not going down that road.
Yeah.
You understand? So that I guess is all about perspective again and purpose. And I know my purpose, as I said at the top. Two most important days, the day you're born, the day I was born to do. And I knew I was born to do this, just didn't know in which format it would have been in.
Yeah.
So I am just growing into self. Okay. You understand?
Nice.
Another risk, another sign, sorry.
Risk.
What we throwing at him?
Is taking risk, right? I like that one in particularly because it's a way to demonstrate dominance. And when I say risk, dangerous driving, or if it's the drugs or the alcohol, why it's
gambling.
Yeah, gambling. Why you think that's a form of toxic masculinity?
Again, it's all pulls around to the same thing, and a lot of the times it's what they were exposed to.
Yeah.
Men who operate in that space were exposed to that. They believe that is the only way they could show. Because dominance is a man thing.
Right.
Right? You want to show dominance. I am not, listen, again, you have to be self-aware. And self-aware enough to know there's certain things you can and cannot do. Again, I said I was fortunate because I grew up with women.
Yeah.
One of the things that was catchy for me in my early days, and I didn't know it then, and I figured it out later, and I was like, oh, that was why. At 14, I could have cook. Like cook. Like macaroni pie, sweet chicken, callaloo. So when I was in my teenage years, remember a long time we used to go club coconuts, and then we used to go coconuts on a Sunday. And my house was the house of ill repute. I had no parental guidance. I lived alone from early.
Serious?
Yeah, because I was allotted, as I said, I was a little fortunate, more than others. I had my own little caboose, because in my parents' mind, they didn't understand how to raise a boy child. Me and my father had these conversations in the last 5 years of his life.
Right.
He didn't know what to raise a boy. He had daughters only. He was only around women. So me coming in the space was confusing, and I came 11 years later. My first sister is 63. I always thought it was my aunt. So you had to understand, for me, there's a lot of things I had to navigate, right? And I didn't know then why I was so, quote unquote, happy to be around.
Yeah.
Brother, when everybody had to go by the granny and the mother and things to go, you coming by me on a Sunday after Maracas and getting full food. Macaroni pie, sweet chicken, So these things. So for me to go back to your question, it's about the risk is these men do it because they feel that it is the way to do it.
Yeah.
That a man must come home because they see the uncle or the father or something coming home and dropping something and telling the woman, you fix that. Or you do this. And you can't question it because I bring it. As opposed to now, a lot of responsibilities are shared.
Yes.
And it's okay. So say what if a man could have some men could pick better linen than women. You understand? Like,
or
okay.
cook better than some women.
Yeah. I could buy a nice rug too.
Yeah.
I could pick a nice some nice swatches. I could do accent wall.
Yeah.
Accent wall could be my vibe. So, but men believe that's not their rule. Their rule is to bring $1,000 and do what you have to do with it. And if you go, of course, that is like you're indebted to me, and it's an indebtedness now. You indebted to me because I do so and so. We need to understand that one of the hardest things for men, young men too, to realize is that don't give with expecting. It's hard. We always give expecting something. I prefer to just give and leave it alone. You understand? Try and train yourself.
We are getting a call. All right. This is our tradition. We act a fool when we get a call. All right. We have Dion Carrington in the house. Dion, how you going, boy? And I actually mean that.
How you going?
How are you?
Right now, I'm stressed out, but this conversation helping me feel a little
we
less
triggered you, boy.
No. Just generally in life. The conversation helping me.
Very good. Very good.
I want to thank Jagger for doing the work that he's doing. Both of us have put out books about emotions and men, so I'm just grateful to see that other people doing that with Tina.
Yeah.
So big up yourself one time, Jagger.
Yeah, buddy.
And on the next side of things, like I hear in the conversation, and I guess I'm fortunate to be in an academic space to be talking about these things in this way, right? You all are saying things, but like not really getting to the roots of it, and I just wanted to see if I could offer that.
Of course,
go ahead.
On the note of like men taking risks, so all these signs of like toxic masculinity, right? The interesting thing is that historically, and I have to say maybe in the past several hundred years, so it's not really that old, we have tied as human beings, maleness to masculinity and female to femininity.
Right.
When in reality, both masculine traits and feminine traits could be exuded by both men and women.
I was going there. I was getting there.
He was. He was good.
And I was going to get there from a personal stance, Boy Dion. And why I say personal, let me just say this real quick. Like me, and I have what is like my potassium level is like ridiculously high, so I can't eat bananas, right? Oh, okay. So I learned exactly what Dion is talking about. I had a conversation with a doctor a couple of years ago where it's like me, I demonstrate what you all call menstrual pains. I have that same issue, but not monthly though. Right?
Whenever you eat a banana.
Because my potassium is so high, things that had potassium and it could take me to a place of like I've been hospitalized a couple of times for it. So I remember being in a room, this is years ago, with a doctor who's saying exactly what he's saying now, where we've been misguided into believing that masculine stuff is men and feminine stuff is, when we could both mirror the same things, as man and woman. You understand? We mirror the same things. As I was telling them earlier, Dion, that the word ego and narcissist, we automatically put it towards
they're
men.
not synonymous with men,
No, they're not. There are a lot of, and I've been reading new studies with how many women are narcissists, and they do it way better than men. They're clever with it.
We're competitive.
Yeah, exactly, by nature. So when you meet a narcissist woman, it is so, it is dangerous because it's done so clever. And a lot of men end up in situations where they don't even know where to come out from. And you see it, and the same thing with women too. Women egos are really big. But we don't have those conversations. So we just kind of take it.
You were talking about something earlier with regards to, oh God, it's slipping me now, boy. It was something with men and women and men not sharing. You were talking about erectile dysfunction, right? And a man could open up to a woman in that moment, and like that might actually lead him to like a growth and development, right? Essentially. And the funny thing is, a lot of men don't open up in that moment because when men try to be vulnerable, some of the first people to shut them down
is women.
Like, that's a reality. That's a huge experience for men. And men have closed off to being vulnerable as a result of their very experiences. It's not that men aren't trying. It's that they're not being received in the ways that they would like to be received, right? A book that I tell everybody they need to absolutely read is The Will to Change Men, Masculinity, and Love by Bell Hooks.
Repeat that?
Right? What?
The Will to Change Men, Masculinity, and Love by Bell Hooks.
Okay.
And there's a quote in that book that changed my life, and I had to put it like in my book to open up and like set context for what people are about to read. The quote goes, "The first act of violence that patriarchy demands of males is not violence toward women. Instead, patriarchy demands of all males that they engage in acts of psychic self-mutilation, that they kill off the emotional parts of themselves." And that act is happening from as early as 2-3 years old when a boy cries and his mother gets sad as a result of it, and that boy knows, when I cry, I make mommy sad, so I'm not supposed to cry.
Wow.
That's how early this learning is happening now.
Yeah.
Like, I was a lucky fella because I've always been an emotional guy, and my parents made room for me to be emotional at home.
Yeah.
But the world didn't make room for me to be emotional outside. So there came a point where I had to disconnect too, just like every other man, right? But I disconnected at 15. I didn't disconnect at 2, 3. If you look at young boys growing up still today, check and see how many of them feel comfortable smiling. Looking at themselves in the mirror smiling or taking a picture smiling. We look at all these young boys on Instagram looking down, they can't even look at the camera.
Yeah, and they have to pop a sign.
Yeah.
Because the sign shows I'm tough. They have some kind of sign, some kind of hand signal gesture, something. Nobody's just naturally happy.
Yeah.
Like you're just doing it in a natural space.
Can I just say
you made a point?
A lot of men are afraid.
Yeah. You were making a point just now and you didn't finish where you spoke of history. I didn't quite get where you were going. You could just elaborate on that a little bit.
Right. So right now we are stuck in a place where men feel like the only way to be a man is to be masculine. Some masculine traits are like strong, controlled, focused, powerful, centered, purpose-driven, etc.
Do you think
Right?
that that's sorry to cut you? Think that's a result of the modern times where women are now providing and so independent?
I think we draw a lot of things, or there are way more negative impacts of slavery and colonial times than we see. And European norms drove that, like that was their way of living. But if we look at ancient civilizations in Africa and China and well, other parts of Asia on the whole, even in the Western world before Columbus came across, like a lot of them understood that both men and women could be caring and also strong. So they could embody the feminine traits and they could embody the masculine, and they encourage that in both men and women now.
Yeah.
But the European way of thinking is, oh, now you're a man, well then you're masculine and you have to be masculine. You have to be everything that is masculine. Oh, you're a woman, then you have to be everything that's feminine. You can't embody anything that's masculine or else that's wrong.
Yeah.
And these things, the last part of it is that these things are fluid. Like nowadays, it's a big deal when a man decides to wear skirts or a dress, but historically, men have been wearing skirts and dresses. Men used to wear skirts to go to war.
Yeah, facts.
The armor
Like
is
that-
a whole
that's-
skirt.
Exactly, that's real now. Like men still wear skirts culturally to this day.
Yeah.
When you think about things like robes, priests are wearing dresses. That's a dress, you know. It's a different
So
name.
who feminized the skirt then? If skirts back then weren't a feminine
so
thing, who feminized? Who's
It's all
responsible for it?
all society. You think about things like high heels. High heels were invented by men for men at first.
Explain
For short men in
For short men.
particular.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it morphed
Yeah.
into high heel shoes for women.
Yeah.
Correct.
And it was also created for disabled men as well.
Okay.
I'm loving this information, but I'm just kind of like at a crossroad where, okay, this is history, but I've seen in today's society where now it's going beyond that, where persons are cutting off body parts to transform and morph. Like, people could stand on this and say, well, it was being done back then. We just had the
That-
technology now. You understand what
That
I'm saying?
trans discourse is a whole other conversation. That's to be very honest.
Yeah. So I just wanted to
I am
clarify
not-
that to some extent, because some people like
Will take it to the
will
extreme.
take it to the extreme. Well, okay, well, if
Yeah,
it
you're
was,
absolutely right.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
I'm not well versed enough. I have my own
Yeah.
opinions, but I need to challenge them in the right spaces
Understood,
before I go
Exactly.
to public
Ooh,
saying these
ooh,
things.
ooh. Yeah, you're breathing my energy. Like I've been invited actually into a big one in a Caribbean space in DC to have that conversation from a Caribbean perspective, because my book is from a Caribbean perspective.
Yes.
So they invited me to
Right.
come and talk about the LGBTQ from that, and I declined for that same reason. I said I don't have
You have
enough
to.
information.
To speak
Yeah.
on
And
that.
I can't speak on what I could say. My only belief is, I love you for who you are, and I
Right.
go on that narrative because I have kids. If my daughter decides that, listen, she is really in love with a girl, and that's the space that she's in, I have to love her the same. That much I know. If I had a son, I believe I'll do the same. In terms of the changing of body parts, it's something that I will have to really sit with
Yeah.
and have deeper conversations. It's one of those uncomfortable conversations I will have to have. But I don't think I am versed enough to go on a
Versatile, yeah.
platform and to be invited in a big space like that to speak on it. So
I like that you mentioned that, because we even strive for that here. Chris could attest to this, that it have so much conversations we need to have,
Yeah.
but we're not going to have it from an opinion base. We want to
Yeah.
bring persons to sit in that
Yeah.
seat who have the expertise.
Yeah,
to
we're not
touch on
going to
these
touch
things.
it unless we
Unless
have
we
the
have
suitable
that.
people to
Correct.
come in.
Yeah.
And with that, Dion, we want to just thank you for calling in as always.
Yes, my
Yes.
pleasure.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
yeah, buddy, cheers.
You still had to get your hands
Yeah,
on that
man.
book, eh?
You do.
Yeah. We want to throw a couple more signs at Jaiga, but let's take a quick commercial, right, if we can, and we will come right back with more Island Girl Talk right here on OURradio.fm.
Now we celebrate. Now we celebrate. Celebrate with Caribbean. Whenever. Now we celebrate. Wherever. Now we celebrate. Whenever. Celebrate with Caribbean.
Caribe Tropical Hard Cider. Drink responsibly.
Talk about misogyny. Misogyny.
We only roll with the day one, day one. We only do it for the day one, then you done now. We not really run down friend. We not deal with a fake friend.
It's good for your daughter. Get your coconut water. Give me some of that coconut. All that water go fill me up. Boy, don't give me every drop. I want all of your coconuts. Give me some of that coconut. All that water go fill me up. Boy, don't give me every drop. I want all of your coconuts. I never write your name when I saw you, baby. Na 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 na. My paper is boring and I hear you calling my name. My name. Na 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 na. Coconut water, they good for your daughter. Coconut water, they good for your daughter. Coconut water, they good for your daughter. Coconut water, they good for your daughter.
And we're back with more Island Girl Talk. Guys, for those of you just joining in, we are your hosts. I'm Krystal Khayne.
Trinidad Shawna.
And of course, we have Jaiga in the house. It's the last Wednesday of the month, so he's here for Guys Perspective. Right? And of course, we're talking about toxic masculinity. Yes. And how it affects men in particular and society at large. Yeah? And we were just throwing a few signs at Jaiga, you know, getting his take on it. What are some of the signs of toxic masculinity? And we were just getting to the part where we want to ask him about how it affects women, you know. Like, one of the signs we researched was aggression toward women, and we're going to pair it with misogyny, right? So aggression toward women and misogyny, which is a prejudice and a hatred toward women. How do you feel about that? And how does it, how does it affect not just women, but society at large when that's displayed?
Well, unfortunately, it's been in this space for a long time. Again, it's been in this space because of wrong teachings and things that other men saw. And there are some homes that there are men who saw their father being abused. That's something that we don't hear and talk about at all. There are men who grew up seeing their father being abused by their mother. And grew a hatred towards their mother. Or if the hatred also comes from seeing their mom do things that they despise of meaning with men. Like, there's some women who bring a lot of men into the home, and some of these men destroyed these young men. Right? In terms of maybe treatment, things to say to them. So what it did subconsciously is allowed these men to hate women because they see women as somebody who only brings bad to them. You understand? So if you're not going to the source, that's the only way, and the only way to fix it for the source, and those things have to be done within. So that's why I try to encourage all the time for men to really seek help. One of the problems that we have too is when you hear seek help, you feel like you're something wrong. You don't need to. It's like this. You put gas in your car to drive it. You're not going to drive your car without gas. So you have to think about therapy as gas for your mind.
Yeah.
You understand? You need to treat it well. You need to service it. You service your car all the time, so you need to service self. You understand? Men know that, especially black men, there are things that we have to do. You need to get your prostate checked at a certain age. You need to go to the doctor. We feel like we invincible. You're not. You understand? I live in the space of 10. It's a church thing. I am not going to come here, as I said before, and preach to anybody. My father was a pastor, not me. You understand? But there's some things that I already live by. 10. That is what they say God is allotted to you. So in every 20 years of your life, you need to do some you need to do some reflection, some self-reflection. So I believe that the whole hatred towards women thing stemmed from things of a man's past, and the quicker he's willing to speak on it, is the quicker it will fix.
Right. All right. So that
That's an
covers.
An example of that, I came across a study where they was doing research on serial killers, and most of the men who are serial killers that target women has been traced to like some kind of thing in the home and the hatred towards the mother. So that's an extremity of it. But as you just touched on, like it starts with foundation.
Yeah.
Foundation.
Oh yeah. Even I don't want to bring this up, but everybody had been talking about the Jeffrey Dahmer thing on Netflix.
I purposely didn't look at it though.
Well,
Yeah,
boy, I looked at it. I will say I expected to see more gore, the way people were talking about it, but I was thankful that it didn't have, more of that, because what I saw was just about enough, but in it, you did see that his mom was suffering from, at the time they didn't know what she had, but it was postpartum depression, and that clearly would have affected him growing up, and she wasn't there for him emotionally.
Like even in our space here, there's a lot of women and men who suffer bipolar and go untreated for many, many years, and not understanding that it could be helped. Because we think you're bipolar, that your life done. You could stay on your meds and you do your regular checkups and you'll be fine. And we take it for granted and you see it all the time. Then you figure out why it is you and somebody can't mesh. It's because they suffering or you suffering and don't even know.
Yeah.
And there are signs, There's signs, but it's a whole different topic. But I honestly believe in our space.
We had a therapist on and she mentioned that because we just see persons acting out and we say, well, they're crazy, they're mad.
Nah,
no.
they're not.
Yeah, just now we are indirectly touched on not wanting to seek
help.
And not wanting to seek.
So that could be physically, mentally, emotionally.
You want to go into
So you touched on misogyny, the hatred of women. But what about sexual aggression toward women? Sometimes men make sexist remarks. It doesn't always have to be rape, but it could be rape culture, sexist jokes and comments, sexual harassment, you know what I mean?
It all stems back, I say, to misinformation. Like, let's be real, porn. Porn in itself, it could be detrimental to somebody if you view it the wrong way, right? And now the accessibility to porn is way different than it was when we were younger.
Yeah.
You have to understand, like, I will say this, right? Like, for me, I was molested at 13. So for a long time in my life, I felt as though once I'm in a space with a woman, I have to have sex. Because I was told that from the time you take off your clothes, you had a jam.
Yeah.
Right? And this is one of the things I've done it very recent. In the past recent times, I've been invited to a lot of platforms to speak on just that because of how serious it is. I felt for a long time, once I'm in a room with you, I didn't understand as a man you have the power to say no. Just as a woman have the power to say no, a man has the power to say no as well, because we have to also, if you're speaking on it fairly, there are women who are very sexually dominated and very fluid, and they require certain things. And if you don't understand, you understand? So when we talk about the rape culture, some of the times the rape culture is really a misinformation and that is injected into young men, and is what we were talking about off mic just now, with a joke that's in the space of the now, which people are laughing at, but it's such an important topic. Example, me walking up to a girl with my son, and my son is nice and good looking, he's dressed well. A girl walks up to me in the mall and go, "Oh my God, it's your son, oh my God, he's so nice, I can't wait when they're 18 and coming back for you." And we will laugh it off like that's a joke. But I can't in the same breath walk up to a 10-year-old little girl and say, "Oh, good, you're so nice. When you're 18, I come back for you." Immediately. It's jail. You understand? But that in itself is really perpetuating it now. It's encouraging it, because you have to be self-aware enough. This is not what you say. And that is the problem I encountered, because at the time I was 13, she was 26. So you were fully developed mentally. Wow. You were a big woman, everyone ever. And I, at 13, 13 you might feel, but a 13-year-old boy, when I was 13, it's not a 13-year-old, because I wasn't exposed. A youth man could go on Twitter and see full porn. I didn't know what porn was. To get up to, most I might have seen a magazine that a brethren might have thief a page from a cousin and bring it to school, and the page real creaser because everybody watched it. And it's not full nudity, but it was considered porn.
I remember Sunday Punch being a big deal.
Yes, Sunday Punch was a thing. You think so? Yeah. So that's how I will say that. So it's about most of the stuff that we talk about here today could be fixed when you just go back to know what it is you were taught and give it some attention and understand that a lot of it was wrong. Now in this now time, we know that a lot of things that we were taught were wrong, and just readdress it within yourself and readdress how you and what you believe in.
And just to add to the example that you gave with walking up with the kids, I've seen interviews and stuff where they talk about, like, even if you have like a family setting and your little child is in, they say, well, go get uncle a kiss, or go get auntie a kiss, and the child don't want to, but you're forcing them to go greet them in this way or sit on auntie lap or whatever, and they don't want to.
That's not practice. That's not practice of now anymore. We don't do the whole like sleepovers and things. It's not really a norm any now. Back then, you had to go by an aunt or uncle to stay over. That's how things happen to children. The whole sit down and lap thing, it didn't have no sit down and lap now, but that's what it used to be back in the day, correct?
Sit down and lap, nothing. My father was not allowing that. And I don't have any memories of sitting on any of my uncle's laps, and they were all perfectly fine. But my father, no partner. That was not happening. All right, anybody has any more signs to throw Jaiga's way?
No, I think we said we were going to just discuss too.
So guys, we want to take another break. You know, we have to do our due diligence, but we want to come back for our spotlight segment where we're going to spotlight Jaiga. You understand? And find out all that he is up to. All right? Keep it locked to Island Girl Talk. We'll be back.
Now we celebrate. Now we celebrate. Celebrate with Caribbean. Whenever. Now we celebrate. Wherever. Now we celebrate. Whenever. Celebrate with Caribbean. Whenever. Now we celebrate. Wherever. Now we celebrate. Whenever. Celebrate with Caribbean. Now we celebrate. Now we celebrate. Celebrate with Caribbean.
Caribbean Tropical Hard Cider. Drink responsibly.
Come to my place, baby, let's have a staycation. Let me take you away on a vacation. Please don't get lost when I send you my location. I got a place for you, baby. Please say yes, and if not, maybe.
You got them eyes that will lead me. I might go astray. Aye. Let me rest my head on you, baby, before we leave, okay? I can get over the feeling. I can get over the way I can get over the way you lie.
Come to my place, baby, let's have a staycation. Let me take you away on a vacation. Please don't get lost when I send you my location. I got a place for you, baby. Please say yes, and if not, maybe.
Champagne pop, 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 all in my cup. Call my baby day. Lights go down and you turn up, Pull up and I'll be waiting. Pull up and I'll be waiting for you.
Yo, Steffi, have a couple of things you feel learn as a frequent flyer. You have to buckle up for the ride of your life when you reach the empire. You know how me love how you twerk it, love how you work the gear stick, put it in first and back a reverse.
Guys, we're back once more. We've been taking some breaks, so that's all right. We're back with Island Girl Talk. I'm Krystal Khayne.
Trinidad Shawna.
And we've got Jaiga in the house. If you're just tuning in, we have been having a fantastic conversation about toxic masculinity. But, you know, it done. You missed it. So you know what to do. Go back and watch it, right? And play back after this show. Right now, though, it's time for our Island Girl Spotlight, where we talk all about all things Jaiga, you know, and we get up to date with what he's doing nowadays and all of that jazz, right? So for those of you who might be living under a rock, let me just give you a little some. Terran Calendar is best known as Jaiga in Trinidad and Tobago and across the Caribbean. He's an artist, radio personality, father of two, and all-round creative genius. As a soca lover and undying patriot, he has given most of his life to the culture of Trinidad and Tobago. And I'll stop there and we let him take over.
Yeah.
Jaiga, talk to us. Like we ask all our guests. Tell us a little bit about your journey, your history, as quick as you can. But tell us about the journey of Jaiga.
Great is the art form.
Great is the
Slogan,
yes.
slogan.
That
Great
is
is
in a nutshell.
it's tattooed in my skin. I can't show it now on the sweater, but it's tattooed in my skin. Great is the
You
art
can
form.
show it. I mean, you could do it. You know, there's a podcast to show us.
Hey.
Hey,
Great is
is
the
it
art
from the
form.
camera?
I don't know if the camera's seen it. Hold on. It's not.
Yeah.
That's a whole job.
Next time.
Great.
Nice.
For me, I would say really quick. I was baptized in soca, I would say 1998. Right? Anything 98 and up and forward, I can challenge you on. Before 1998, you could. I might have to go to the books.
Okay.
Right? Knew exactly what I wanted from an early age. I came up in the market. In my early school days, I did primary, secondary like everybody else. Wasn't really academically driven, but I always knew that I was never going to work. One of the moments epiphany hit is at 18, I was on my way to, because my father had some good pull. He was the guy who was responsible for YTC, writing the legislation. He opened there. He was the man who everybody went to figure out how to do it and how to. That's why our relationship was very funny, because he always. The only men in his life was young boys, like in jail or trouble youth. And when he got a son, he didn't want to treat me like a trouble youth because I wasn't. But ironically, I was doing my own thing. So I remember he got me this job. I was supposed to enroll, as they say, to be a prison officer on the way to Golden Grove in Aruka. I pressed the bell in Kirep. And I'm taking Maxi. I pressed the bell in Kirep and I came out, not knowing what I wanted to do exactly, but I knew that I didn't want to be that. So I pressed the bell, I came out, I went by this lady, Ann Barber Shop in Kirep, and I asked her if she's looking for any barbers, because that's something I just naturally picked up. I used to do that from since I was young. She's like, you could trim, because young people are looking to do them kind of work in them days. So I was to sweep a shop and trim, and I always liked music them times. I was always into the music. And who all know as Hoppy now, Coach. We're good friends from very, very young. I met his mother at a day I went to do this seminar thing, and I was very vocal. And she's like, who's this fresh up little boy? Because I was chatting up the women in the room, right? Because I was trying to sell something, so I was chatting up. And she said, I need you to meet my son, or they will kick it off. And I was about 16 when that happened, so I was new crazy, and that's how the music thing started. When he started Radioactive, and I liked the music, I was doing the trimming thing as well, and I had all this time already had my parlor, because I used to sell in the market, I used to do all them things, and that's how I got into the music thing and the DJ part of it. And as everything else, the evolution came. We grew up on the dancehall culture, playing dancehall, the sound system things, and it was 1998. We went to play in an event in the O.U.R, and Iowa was there, and I played a soca set, but we weren't ready. At that time, we weren't playing soca, but we just did it to be different, because our slogan was Radioactive, element of surprise. We tried to do things that other sound system wasn't doing, so we played like Michael Jackson and things that you wouldn't hear in a party, and some soca songs, but it had connected. Sometimes we have a good set. It was like one of our best sets ever. And I remember I was walking up to me and saying, "But who is you? Where you come out from? Never seen you before, blah, 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 blah." So any moment, she was like, "I have this idea. I want a DJ to roll with me. You have a passport?" I say, "You have a passport. You have a visa?" "No." Right? And this was the Saturday. I remember he told me he called me the Sunday, and he said, "Get my documents ready the Thursday." And back in them days, it was very easy. Don't ask me how, I can't remember. All I remember, it happened that fast. I met him this Saturday at a Watercolors. The Sunday, he found me. We had a conversation home at my house in the kitchen. The Thursday, I met him in Port of Spain and gave him a passport and the documents. And the following Wednesday, I was in New York.
Wow.
Nice. And I was enrolled. Cool. I worked for 13 years. And that was the year I said I got baptized to soca, because what I did in that time is I took an internship at JW Records, and my mission then was to see if soca music could be played for 24 hours without playing back a song. So I converted, this was the era when we converted records to CD, because we were still using CDs them days. So I converted, so I took an internship job at the record store. I sat down there for hours, for months upon months, converting. And that's where the name Trini Bashman came from. And apparently, like what you all have here was this kind of setup in New York, and that's how I was able to do Bashman Radio years later. So my journey with him, I will always credit him for my start in soca and the love for soca. And I make the joke and say I get baptized, because it's actually seeing soca outside of Trinidad is when I had a greater appreciation for it. And that's what I say. And then fast forward to that, I wanted to do Soca Star, which was successful. And from then, the singing thing, real quick, the singing thing, I wasn't part of the plan. I had to do it because when Soca Star was such a success, Nobody believed that it was real. Everybody thought it was a fluke. And then they said, you're doing nonsense. That show is garbage. And Fireball won the first year. And then the second year.
Metro was Metro.
Yeah, but in the second year when Fireball came out, when he did whatever, right, I wrote that. Nobody did. And at that time, I had to connect with something. So that story with that song was amazing. It got signed and everything, but Fireball did that. They still didn't take it on. Then the year after, I did Wang 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 for George. Make your bumper turn on your front line. Your white pants side. Peter Cup and I work on that project. Put out that. And credited as a writer, creator. They still say it's garbage. Nobody did this. So that's year 3. Then year 4, I sang a jingle for the show. TC and name calling what your pants was garbage. But the jingle made it to the Soca Monarch finals. And the point I'm making is that back then I knew exactly what the space needed. So I was trying to show them, I fully understand the Soca diaspora and what is it. I played music. At this time I was 10, 11 years in, touring the world doing only Soca. So you can't tell me I don't know what Soca is. And our next big story that a lot of people don't know, when Umi Mokano won Soca Star, that song wasn't his, that was actually Chucky's song that I took and gave to Umi because Umi was the better performer. And Chucky had to stay out of the show because at them times Chucky was Kaisona. You understand? And our next story that a lot of people don't know, Voice actually used to play Pan for Irfan. That's Irfan backup Pan man.
Yeah, I remember Voice giving that story.
I remember Voice from the period when the Alien song.
Yeah, but we asked Voice to come. Voice didn't originally wanted to come. The staff that time was really Irfan.
Yeah.
Irfan was the man in school doing it. Voice was very timid and behind the scenes. And Voice and Alien is when he broke out. And from then, huge. And now there's Voice.
Excellent. Really? You answered quite a few questions without even answering because we're going to talk about Fireball. All right, great.
Well, you tell me to go fast. So I was trying to give you all in one gush.
You want to know about the name change?
Yeah, gosh, I wanted to ask that one. Because that has been bugging me for years.
From Super Jigga TC to Jaiga,
right? Because I remembered having a reaction to that back then. It's like, well, why would he change his name from Jigga to Jaiga? I mean, I like Jigga, TC
Super Jigga. Super Jigga TC.
Yes, I like that. And then I was like, what was it?
Yeah, what happened with that, right? Understanding evolution and understanding marketing as I do. And having a child changes your life.
Right.
I remember the first time when my daughter went into Holy Name, prep. I remember going into prep 1. In that moment, I had one of this kind of hurt belly feelings.
Oh, gosh.
When I went to pick her up, I had them cramps feet. I sat down the afternoon and looking at her run outside. And she's a girl dad, so she's a run outside and hug up. In that moment, I'm like, I have to do this for the next 5 years. Well, actually 7. And how am I going to do this? When her friends coming on, they started to get older and they calling me Super Jigga TC. By that time, I was Super Jigga TC for like 15 years. So I have to go through her whole secondary school life with her friends calling me Super Jigga. I'll be such an old, decrepit.
The 60-year-old we are talking about.
You understand? The brand would have been too old. So I said, listen, I need to change the brand a little bit, tweak it a little. You understand? And in order to do that, that's why I went to the name change. And the Jaiga name actually came from my homeboy Tank. His father could have never say Super Jigga.
Oh, shucks.
For years. He been calling me Super Jaiga, boy, Super Jaiga for years. He's calling me Super Jaiga for like 10 years. And that one day, I just I killed the Super. And I say, what about Jaiga? And my business partner, who is Lee Designs. So I'm business partner for like, 17 years now?
Oh, Lee, I know Lee.
Yeah, Lee's my... So Lee... Lee was listening to the radio that day, and Lee's like, let me just say Lee's the greatest graphic artist on the planet Earth, right? So in the moment, he sent me the logo. I said, why is this here? And the man can't call him, there's your name. And right then, I was like,
Awesome.
And ironically, that year is when my entire life changed. When I changed my name, my second daughter came prematurely, was hospitalized for 68 days. My dad lost his 2 legs. Everything came down. That was 2014. I'll never ever forget the day I changed my name to Jaiga. It also changed my life. The name change.
That bothered me for years, I mean, you have an effect on people that you don't even know. But I was like, why did he change his name? Like, seriously.
I know, ironically, no.
I understood it because it entered you in, that name could enter you into rooms that Super Jigga TC couldn't.
Yes.
And now, and here why I'm comfortable with it now. My daughter now goes to St. Francis. All the little girls in St. Francis. It's like, hi, Jaiga.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
try hearing hi, Super Jigga TC. When their mother and grandmother used to be Super Jigga TC.
Yeah,
It's just weird. So it's like, some of their grandmothers like, who is Jaiga? Glad. Because the Super Jigga TC they used to jump up and scream for, the grandchildren now could say Jaiga comfortably and it doesn't feel normal.
Evolution.
Right. All right. So we're gonna, well, like I said, you answered questions 3, 4, and 5 in your one. So we want to go to 6, ladies.
All right.
I'll ask.
Okay.
So you mentioned stepping into the spotlight from behind the mic and the radio stations. You know, you toured with I with George and all of that. What was it like for you personally stepping onto the stage as super?
As an artist?
Yes, as an artist.
All right. Like for me, like this. How I put this real quick. All right. Like there are men who I always say suffer from never did thought, right? There's an illness called never did thought. When you, like maybe a song or something you do in life, maybe sport or whatever, propels you to popularity status.
Never did thought.
Right? So you never did thought you'd make it, so you don't know how to handle it in return. For me, I never felt anyhow because I was always that guy in my community. From young, like from 7, 8, 9, everybody used to be TC. Because TC is a home name. I had my first parlor when I was like 12, 13. I used to sell dry goods and melon and apples and things. And I was the trickiest apple salesman in the world. Because I would sell all the sunny apples. I know how to oil it, sprinkle it with water, and chat some women to buy it. It's pretty a 13-year-old boy, right? In a nice, clean white shirt, trying to tell the girl, buy these apples now. You understand? And I give that little nice face. Like, you got these nice, eh? What they buy all my apples? And then they come tomorrow and cuss me because the apple ain't got a toe. Right? So I've been there. So for me, I was always that dude. Everybody knew TC, and I had things. So when the TC ended up on television, it didn't feel no how because I was always that. And I knew it wasn't a case of like, I never considered myself like, okay, it's not like the music never made me TC. I was always TC before the music. You understand? So for men who struggle with seasons and not having a hit song and they can't function, I never felt them ills because I'm always me. With a song, without a song, I still Jagger. You know what I'm saying? That's how I never felt no way, to be honest.
You also had quite a lot going for you also. I mean, apart from the music, you had stuff going for you before, during, and after the music.
Yeah.
So
I always doing something. So it's never really,
Indeed.
I was excited when I found out that you had a book. When I featured you, I just wonder, like, persons who do not know, he's an author, an accomplished published author. But books on the horizon, because I think you have other.
Let's tell you real quick. I have 8 things you can do today to improve your emotional intelligence. I have 6 easy ways to be kinder to yourself. An active guide in emotional intelligence is a handbook. Intelligent triggers and intelligent reliance. Active listening, a cheat list. Right? Ignite your passion. And the book that started it all is Everyday Lessons in Emotional Intelligence, a Caribbean Perspective. And let me be honest, in that story, that journey is a real crazy one. I had no idea how to even end up there. My mentor now, Dr. Amala, she discovered me back in 2018 without me knowing. She's very big on the Caribbean diaspora platform. She does a lot of chair work. Her faculty now moves, which is my alma mater. I go to Eastern New Mexico University in New Mexico. She went to a seminar, went to like a luncheon, and the woman who hosts the luncheon, her daughter was looking at Mars vs. Venus, which is my YouTube show. She's quite popular. And they were laughing in a room, and she walked in and was like, what is this about? It's like, this guy they look at. She had no idea who I was. And the topic at the time, she didn't really mention what it was. When she gave the story, she said it held her. And so she went and binge watched. Because I have a couple of episodes there, 100 and something episodes. She said, so she looked for me for the whole of 2018, whole of 2019 to try and contact me. Said that how I have such a great knack for something she wants to do. Which was she was doing some research on emotional intelligence. She wanted to interview me and have some questions and take my perspective on certain things, and that is how we met. So that is how the book journey started. I sat down, I spoke for 19 hours.
Whoa.
Not the same time. That's thing, cause that's how that's how you write books in the new world. Obama didn't sit down with that calculator, with that typewriter. So you talk, and then there are people that you hire to do it. So that's what I've been doing. It's a lot of research, though. I would tell anybody, in order to get the essence of what you want, you also have to ask the right question. One of the books that I'm very, very excited to launch is 22 questions women over 40 supposed to ask before dating. I'm very excited.
Why over 40 though? What happened to the 20?
No, I purposely put it that way because I wanted to connect with women closer to my age group.
Yeah. And it's the quintessential middle age.
Yeah, and one of the things I want to say is I'll just leave this one. When you ask someone, are you seeing anybody? You know, normally you get, no means see nobody.
Yeah.
Right after that, ask, is anybody seeing you?
Ooh.
Social media has created relationships with it not being a relationship.
I want that book.
All right. So I'll just leave it that one.
Okay, so in addition to, because you said you're looking forward to the book, what else you have on the horizon? Anything else we could expect?
What's next?
Well, next year I'll be starting my master's. I'm excited to do that.
Master's in?
Organizational management.
Okay.
Right? Why? Because I think it's going to fall in good with a lot of the other stuff that I'm doing. We spoke about Junior Lee off camera. We spoke to him on camera about him on camera. Junior Lee is going to be my co-host and something that I'm going to launch very soon. I'm doing something, Jing Shams.
Yes.
Right, we're doing something called What's Brewing, the same concept.
Okay. Not the bacchanal side of it, right?
No, it's the real side of it. Like, for instance, I want to have real conversations with the people and the faces that everybody know.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, I'm not going to talk about, so when you start, how long you're singing, what's your favorite song? Not like those. It's like, it's a conversation more based on, like, let's throw one out there. He might curse, but let's say like Ricardo Drew, want to talk to him and Patrice about, being engaged with your actual status now. Are you still married? Because there were these situations with your other children, situation with how long it took for the world to know. And not in a bacchanal way, more informative. And it's about really giving people the opportunity to open up and give their real take and versions of misconceptions people might have about them.
Nice.
So that is the space that
I could
creating.
see Junior Lee fitting into that because he brings the comedic side.
Yeah, and also I want to groom him because I think he has so much potential. But what he needs is the information.
Yeah.
Because of his age, he does not have the information. Like for me, I win because most of my peers, because of being around, I remember I were in his 60s. I have men at funerals I've been to men who I consider my friend, who are like 78 and passed away. But for 10, 15 years of my life, I was around them for so long. We created a friendship. I know they're not my friend, but what I got from them, like I ask this question all the time, where's the brightest place in the world? The smartest place in the world?
Cemetery.
Correct. Right? So in order to enhance that and to get that, you need to be around older people because they have information that you just wouldn't get if you don't ask questions. So that's what
they want to share, but we don't ask.
Yeah.
They're willing to share. Nice.
What advice can you give to anyone coming up after you, want to follow in your footsteps, that kind of thing? A similar path.
Change your name.
No, not changing
That
it.
is good
Again, it's
advice.
about, listen, every day is a
Stay
learning.
fresh.
Every day is learning. You have to be, and I know we say it loosely, and it's even hard to do. You have to take accountability for everything you do, right? And as men, we really shy from it. I am not a saint. I am not perfect. I don't go on platforms and say all the pretty words and articulate myself properly and try to say like, oh my God, this boy is on yeah, cool. I get it, but I am not perfect. I have my flaws as well, but every day I strive to be the better version of who I was. You understand? I've made a lot of mistakes in the past. Most of them are very public. And I try to purposely make everything about myself public based on the fact that I believe I owe that to the people who really lift me up because I've never worked for anybody. I'm not employed by anybody. I'm an independent brand that works in places and get paid for it. And the reason why I do that is because of who I am. So I need to be truthful about who I am at all times. So whenever or wherever I go, I hate closet stuff. I hate somebody coming to say something. There's nothing that could be said about me. Like people talk about my status, about being married, all those things. It's just public knowledge. You understand? It's not nothing is hidden. So at no point in time nobody come. But I do this. I know never me.
Yeah.
You understand? And I try to fight for that as much as I can. Yes, there are aspects of your life you don't want to keep private. but
not a
it's
secret.
not a secret.
Yeah.
It's just private.
That's private.
Indeed.
So the advice I will give is continue asking questions, continue believing in yourself. You understand? Your road is not somebody else's road. Everybody's journey is different. There are things that I wish I had in life, like right now, that I think myself. One of the things that we beat up ourselves about too is watching others and saying, but how I don't have this, I'm more qualified. How I don't have this, I'm nicer than. It doesn't matter. Everything in your timing, and you have to be kind to yourself. A lot of times, like we have this whole thing. Black people, especially, work till you're dead. I want to tell people, stop with that mentality. Rest. You don't work till you're dead. Work-life balance is the most important thing for your life. You need to give yourself that happiness. It could be what if it is you feel to just take a day, don't go to work and go maracas for the whole day and sit down and chill out. You could do that. You could do that. Give yourself that. You're entitled to that. Give yourself some grace.
Indeed. All right. Well said. Lastly, we have no more questions for you. We just want you to tell the people how they can reach you and keep up with you and your work and that kind of
Again,
thing.
the name, very easy. Jaiga TC and everything. Jaiga TC, Instagram, Twitter, all these spaces. I will say there's a lot of things on the horizon. I'm very excited for 2023 for me. By God's grace, the book is coming. The books will be out. I have a lot of speaking engagements. I'll actually leave for a seminar on the 10th.
I love that.
But I will tell you this though. Let me get into the Jaiga hat here now. Just now that was tearing calendar hat though. All the book stuff and all that is tearing calendar. The Jaiga hat is, me ask this, right? You all ever had caramel from a sugar pan?
No.
Right.
No, not that I'm aware of.
Right. It's sweet when it's melting down.
Okay.
It feels like you're in a fete.
Right.
And you get the sweetest jam. It just remind me of our twin island. As soon as we reach the ground, it's fete for days.
Why is it like lyrics?
It
Right?
is.
It's lyrics.
Because down here in Trinidad have the sweetest waters. In Trinidad and Tobago, we have the sweetest waters. We wind up on the sweetest bumpers.
Right.
How this place sweet so? How? It's honey they used to pave the road. So when you see masqueraders jumping up and waving for hours, just stop and ask yourself this. Trini's in charge of sweetness.
I love that. All right. So we have that to the dog.
I see the merch on the hat.
Well,
We in charge
I
of
like it. Oh,
sweetness,
yes,
right?
yes. I
That's
was
all you have
wondering
to
what the
remember.
sweetness
Yeah,
meant on
yeah.
his
We in charge of sweetness.
Yes, I. Well, Jaiga, we want to thank you so much for joining us
Not a
today.
problem.
Not just for Guy's perspective, but sharing a little bit about what you're up to and stuff. Like, we had no idea you were a published author and all these things, doing all these great things, speaking engagements and all of that. So good luck to you as well in the future with all your endeavors for next year. But you still have some time here with us. We coming back, guys. Stay tuned. We still have Sip and Spill up next. And we're going to put Jaiga
Okay.
in the hot
Time to
box.
put wisdom aside.
Right?
Go back now.
We're not
Okay,
putting
okay.
them in the hot seats, the hot box. This is a woman show.
So we needed
Right?
to activate Super Jaiga TC for this segment.
Keep it locked to Island Girl Talk right here on OURradio.fm.
Now we celebrate. Celebrate with Caribbean. Whenever, wherever, whenever. Celebrate with Caribbean. Whenever, wherever, whenever. Celebrate with Caribbean. Now we celebrate. Celebrate with Caribbean.
Caribbean Tropical Hard Cider. Drink responsibly.
Dogs, I'm ready.
This beat ain't normal.
One day, Benz and Beamers in a the driveway. I love a main gal on a side bay. New J's on, I feel like Spike Lee. Oh, I mix it up, I'll wear the Nike. Probably why them man, them watch me sideways. Oh, I come around, but it's unlikely. 10 to song, I move so grimy, I move so shy,
Lavish life I endorse. No focus on the man, just bring it straight for the boss. And watch me up in the Jeep and just suppress the exhaust and tell the price. Cause I don't care about the cost. And by the time we win them, I go realize that them lost without the code. Them can't decipher talk it in most. And stay active, the recipe, and we are the source. Forget the beam or the Bentley, I'll just get me the Porsche. Tell them runway, Bible on the dash like gunplay. Trap from Monday to Sunday. Man say them better than 1K. Ask them where like Dundee. No make me rise up the K. Man a lion make me swing pon them ends like a monkey. Man ever ready and done say. For the warfare, man been a boss, no plum pay. I'll slip through the crack like a junkie. So what you really suppose? Man them say them rich and them can't even come close. If you want to celebrate then you could come take a toast. If you're heading we could go until we love the spokes. And if not a little just put aside all the jokes. By the end of the day you'll end up be a repose. Of course I got the power cause I've been going ghost. Now they look me in my face and say you're doing the most. Me ain't at the boss. It's a difference and I try to put some mean on the plan. And they have me in my back for just a couple of grand. That means that you don't mind seeing me as a man. Could have been here but you don't mind being my fan. End of story. All when you lose still popping out nowhere like voodoo. If you want the warfare, my G, I'll send my dogs at your frame like close. I got this 4-5, never run safety. Anybody gets it, some like ABG. Been done rude and made it back safely. Tryna buy whips and chains, no slavery. High grade savory, now it is the girl them favor me. Watch me take this thing from A to B. Tryna be the fresh prince, so I need my aunts and my uncles. Pocket fill, no James Avery. But that's another day for the convos. Right now I'm dodging pagans and potholes. Finding out how to live life like a honcho. Going straight from the back doors to the front rows. Man them talk road, but we done those. 1K was really getting composed. Now we get the gal them sweet like fun rose. Remember when I tell you certain man couldn't come close. One day, Benz and Beamers in all the driveway. I'll have a main gal on a side bay. New J's on, I feel like Spike Lee. Feel like Spike Lee.
Trini, yeah. Trini, yeah. Ooh, 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 ooh. What? I don't need closure. I just want to hang over. Lay so still on my sofa. Shit, I'm still in my overs. All over. Closure. I just want to hang over. Fuck the feelings I'm over. Tonight I'm losing my focus. I'm going for. Why aren't you embarrassed? Unfriending and friending your exes, yeah. 10 minutes in it. You wasting time on my timeline. Wonder what's your sign? Maybe Aries or Virgo, Cancer or Gemini. I don't need closure. I just want to hang over. Lay so still on my sofa. Shit, I'm still in my lovers. All over. Closure. I just want to hang over. Fuck the feelings I'm over. Tonight I'm losing my focus. I'm going for. Sorry, I felt the need to call all out. Maybe I need to shut my mouth. But I'm so sorry in the high. Is that even right? I've got to admit now that you've done a number on me. Cause you don't think it's really good. You waste your time on my timeline. Wonder what's your sign? Maybe Aries or Virgo, Cancer or Gemini. I don't need closure. I just want to hang over. Lay so still on my sofa. Shit, I'm still in my lovers.
We're back with more Island Girl talk. I'm Krystal Khayne.
Trinidad Shawna.
And we have Jaiga in the house.
Yep.
And you've been listening to Trini Baby with Zodiac.
Nice,
All right.
nice.
So, guys, if you're just joining us, go back and watch the whole show if you want to hear what we've been talking about. Yes. But right now, it's time for Sip and Spill. Cheers. Yeah. Cheers. Put that camera on Jaiga there.
I'm frightened for this segment. Cheers.
where, of course, you know, we ask all kind of out of time and questions. And our guest has to answer. Of course, you can plead the fifth. You have 3 chances to plead the fifth, and that's it. You have to answer everything else.
Oh, damn.
Did we
Yes?
sip and char? I don't think we sip and...
We didn't. But that's okay. That's okay. But before we start, remember to enjoy the crisp refreshment of Caribbean Hard Cider, an all-natural gluten-free blend crafted with champagne yeast. Caribbean Tropical Hard Cider is available in original, pineapple, and rosé. Whenever, wherever, celebrate with Caribbean.
Drink responsibly.
Drink responsibly, boy.
Right.
Let's go. Ready yourself.
Ready yourself. Who wants to go first?
I do like that
All
energy.
right. First one.
I do like this energy.
We have a few.
Do you rather cuddle up in front of a fireplace or light your fire in bed?
Can I do both?
Now we talking.
Wait.
No.
Sip and smell
No,
today.
you have to get it would you rather for this one.
What?
What side you lean into more?
You have to sip before you spill.
But if the man want to do
No,
both, let him
because
do
that's
both.
easy.
He could have
Everybody
it all.
wants to do both.
That's why he's Jaiga. He could have it all.
I would like to have both, but if I in this time if I had to choose, I prefer the cuddle up.
All right.
Good.
Yeah.
I've got one. I've got a Katie
Bring down
C
the rain with a
question.
fire.
Yeah.
What makes you unstoppable?
What makes me unstoppable?
Yes. Sip.
My kids.
I like that. I like that.
I've got one.
Let me hear.
If you could choose a superpower, what would it be and why?
I want to be invisible
All right. Okay.
because I'm fast.
Well, then you should have to read people's brains, read people's mind. You think
Nah.
that's
I want to
fast.
see. I don't want
You
to
want
read
to
no
see?
mind. I want to see.
Okay.
I want to see to come back and say, so you didn't? No, me never. Okay. and I want to detail everything I saw.
Wow, you
Yeah.
dangerous.
What emotion do you experience the most?
That's one difficult.
Yeah.
I suffered anxiety a little bit.
Okay.
So I will say anxiety.
All right.
Anxiety.
Okay.
I've got one.
Well, the rapid fire, boy. Go, Neicy, go.
What was your favorite romantic moment and why?
Oh God, favorite romantic moment and why?
You had to sip. Bubbles in.
I'll plead the fifth on that one. That one I'll take my fifth.
Never had a plead the fifth.
Okay, drop one time.
I'll plead
Asking
the
one more good one before we get steamy.
Okay.
Are you more into looks or brains?
I have to choose.
Yes.
I'll say brains.
Brains.
Okay.
Okay.
I say before I
You
get
find that was a hard choice?
Huh?
You find that's a hard choice?
No, everybody wants you both.
learn a lot, so
But I will say
yeah,
brains
brains.
because
Yeah.
I prefer stimulating conversation and you
Of
can look
course.
sexy if you're smart, eh?
I agree.
Yes.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's
True,
why I don't find
true.
it's a difficult choice.
Yeah.
Ole, make it count now.
Make it
I have a
count.
steamy
No,
one.
mine not steamy. Let me ask one more timid one. What makes you smile?
Oh, boring.
Yeah. What makes you smile?
It'll be kids again.
Okay.
It's
All
kids,
right.
it's kids. All right. Time to get steamy.
Go in,
All
go
right,
in,
Chris.
Chris.
Do you like to dominate in the bedroom or be dominated?
Sip, eh?
Sip and
I have
spill,
to say,
boys.
yeah?
Spill.
I will say the latter.
You like to be dominated?
Yeah.
Oh my,
Everybody
care to
like one.
divulge. Why, boy?
Only because of experience, my personal experiences.
Okay.
So it's like being a driver. Like I'm very excited for my daughter to start driving, so I could be in the passenger seat.
Okay.
So let's play it that way.
All right, let's play it that way.
I've driven a lot of vehicles, so I want to be driven.
All right.
That's the most politically correct way I could find to
We
say.
gonna take that. We gonna take that.
You think that for sure.
Ladies.
All right. Make love on the beach or in a jacuzzi?
Jacuzzi sound is not a fun thing.
The jacuzzi.
But the setting,
In the sea though. What about
the
in the-
environment, you could consider as well.
And the jacuzzi has a lot of
Bubbles.
germs and people with STDs and stuff.
Oh, if it's a public, it's a public. You didn't specify. It's
you
a
could have
public
your own
jacuzzi.
That's what I would think about still.
No, you could have your own
With my
jacuzzi.
own jacuzzi, I still not doing that, dog.
Yeah,
No.
but beach has sandfly,
Yeah.
Beach
mosquito.
was so self-cleaning with the ties
You
coming
saw
in
what
and
in this?
whatnot.
Yo, them things just look better than one actually feels it. It's like people who enjoy, baby, let's go paint this room now. I encourage you, but do not buy no roller and paint higher, man. That is not romantic. Whoever fool you into believing painting is romantic, like too much TV. It is not romantic. You know, some people believe, honey, let's paint this room now, and you want to paint. Paint, yes. And the father paint on the nose and it's cute. That is not cute. Painting hard as hell.
I paint. I like to paint.
What's a guilty pleasure that people always misunderstand about you?
Popcorn.
Popcorn?
Yeah.
What? How do you misunderstand popcorn?
I love it. I eat it with cheese, raw blocks of cheese.
Okay.
Yeah, I love it. Like
with what cheese?
And I don't share. Like I really don't share. Like not even. I love my children. And they know if it's one thing they grew up learning, you cannot put your hand in my popcorn ever in life. I don't want it anymore. And I will subtalk to you. A relationship could end, and I eat it with blocks of cheese. Like chunks of cheese. Like I buy the cheese and then eat the popcorn.
Okay.
Yeah.
That
it's a guilty pleasure.
It has some nice food pairings.
It sounds unhealthy. That's how it sounds.
No, but it
sounds unhealthy.
It's very unhealthy, but it's the greatest thing.
Some food pairings be like, I don't know, Christmas in your mouth, like honey mustard and watermelon.
I know, but don't knock it till you try it.
Honey mustard?
So it's online.
On TikTok.
And I tried it and I was like,
serious?
Honey mustard. Because they said mustard, but I don't like mustard. I like honey mustard. So I tried it and I was like, listen to me.
My thing, I would not try it. Banana bread with peanut butter with cheese. Like I treat the banana bread as a bread. So I make it with like a sandwich.
A banana, so I wouldn't be partaking.
Yes.
But I hear you.
Try it with the cinnamon bread.
Okay.
Bread, yeah.
One more round. Only see any time.
Yeah, make it
lights on or lights off?
On.
Serious?
You want to see?
You want to see?
I like to see. I like to see.
I think a lot of people like the lights on. Have you ever done the deed in a public place?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, gosh.
Divulge.
Yeah.
Where was
but that's excitement though, when lights hit in here and thing. That's a vibe.
But where was the public place?
Where?
Yeah.
Locally or abroad?
It doesn't matter.
Locally.
Balconies, hotels.
Locally.
No, mostly abroad. Not locally. Locally will be side of the road.
I want to switch it up, Chris.
Okay.
Permit me. We're going to give Jaiga the chance to ask us a question.
Oh, gosh.
I have no questions.
God.
You're lucky. Go back, Chris.
We don't want that, Neicy.
Normally, they just jump for the opportunity too now.
Okay. I think I want to ask, what is the most life-changing event that you have experienced? Have you told us in this conversation already, or is there something else?
I did.
Yeah,
2014.
Okay.
2014, my dad lost his legs.
Yes.
And it's when I changed my name, I had to cancel. I had to cut out of the season that year, 2014 season I had to come out of because I just physically couldn't do it. I remember having to go get breast milk from West Shore, take it to Mount Hope at 3 in the morning, then go to Grandy to bathe my dad at 4, then to get on the radio for 6.
Wow.
I did that for 7 months, so it was a struggle while renovating my house as well.
Wow.
I was billing at the same time, so it was a struggle.
You didn't call yourself super
It was and I was feeding out a super jigger I was going to Jaiga.
Did that tap you into strengths like on charter territory with you?
Oh, hell no, that sent me into depression and I abandoned my family in 2016. Hell no, it didn't tap me into no. And I go and come here and be cute.
Yeah.
I struggled with depression. I went away and I have people I always praise us to help me along the way. But in 2016, I abandoned everything. I left, I was in London, and a friend of Bunji's found me in London. In a bodega by accident. I was asking, what the hell are you doing here? That's how people discovered where I was. It was very hush-hush. It was kept under the radar here for a long time.
Yeah.
People just thought I went on a sabbatical. I actually wasn't coming back because I just couldn't cope. But I got help, and luckily for me, I never had to go on any antidepressants. I found a way back. So I'm very appreciative to certain people in my life.
Yeah. Indeed. Wow.
What's the craziest thing you've ever done?
Okay. All right.
That one I will plead the fifth too.
Okay. All right.
Wow.
If
a genie granted you 3 wishes right now, what would you wish for?
The first wish is that everybody appreciates soca as much as me.
Right.
That's wish 1. 2, that my daughters have every wish that they want for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And the third one, me getting the opportunity to experience it with them.
Oh, that is beautiful.
That's nice.
We like that.
You love
we
soca, boy.
Oh, yeah.
Great is the
Oh, yeah.
Mom.
Yeah.
Okay, back to some steamy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Have you ever been spanked? And did you
no.
like it? No.
Serious? And
Never.
Mm-mm. I'm not into that.
That's disappointing.
All right.
Really? You haven't spanked though.
Nothing.
All right.
Next question.
What are your thoughts on online dating on Tinder?
Online dating,
Or Tinder?
yeah, that's problematic.
Okay.
Very, very, very
Really?
problematic. Yeah, it's very problematic. Afraid it.
I will say that I wouldn't do the online dating here. So I've done it. I've just never had the guts to actually go out
Go on
and
the
meet
date.
someone. But if I do it, for sure, it would have to be in a different country. I would never do it home here. Something
I
haven't
haven't done it, but I have had friends who did, and they met.
I didn't realize it was a thing here
I
until
joined
recently.
it.
Like
Yeah.
when I say recently, like about 5 months ago, I realized it's a thing here, like in
Yeah.
Trinidad space. I thought that was just an overseas
I
thing.
think
joined
Trinidad too
Tinder,
small.
and in 10
Trinidad too
minutes,
small
I
for
was
that.
like, I old school. I joined Tinder in 10 minutes. I was like, I install the app.
Oh.
No, but
I
I
don't
have
even have
friends
the app. Never
legitimately
tried it.
meeting like
I have a
possible
girlfriend who's
companions
in
and good people.
a
I
5-year
used-
relationship, and it started with Tinder. When they
Yeah.
both decided to be in it, they both came off at the same time.
Oh, okay.
But I just don't trust it.
I used Tinder for real in 2014 when I was living in England for a year. And I would say I've made such great friends. Because, I mean, like I said, I wouldn't go out on a date.
But you would
know
talk
what
to
I
them all
mean?
the
But
time.
I'd talk to them and we exchanged numbers. And to this
Yeah.
day, we still talk.
Yeah.
And I would actually, if it was to come up, I'd actually meet with them one day because I trust now that, but to go on a date with somebody I met on Tinder, I don't think I have the guts.
Yeah.
I think if I have to do it, I'll go on Christian Mingle.
Oh gosh.
Oh, wow.
That's
That
where I
might
might
be
meet
worse.
somebody real freaks.
Christian Mingle.
So you can burst that bubble.
Burst Jagger.
Oh yeah.
You'll
leave
meet
me
some
alone.
real
You know
freaks.
how much girls lost their virginity at camp?
At band camp. At one time.
Just saying.
At band camp.
Okay, you just leave that there.
Right.
I might stand out past you talking to her.
One more.
Do you judge a book by its cover?
Oh, no.
Mr. Otter.
We have to have one that counts. Make it count, Neicy. Make it count.
Pressure is on.
Not no muxy question.
I can do this. Shots go.
Jeez.
I'm looking.
Jeez. Okay, I will ask.
Yeah.
Would you rather have sex, mind-blowing sex for 1 minute, right? No.
A minute, that would be a little longer.
extend it
Give
a
me
little
5, you know. Give me 5.
45 seconds, right? Or average sex for 45 minutes.
Oh, hell, city 45 seconds. Who the hell wants to stay for? You want things that to do? Look, right now, I go and pick up my children from school. You feel that time to be doing all that? Because, nah.
Ladies, you have anything else?
Let's wrap it up.
That's it for Sip and Spell. Cheers!
With 2.
Cheers!
And he said he has to pick up his kids from school.
Yes,
so
he
let's not have
does.
them waiting.
Jagger, you did well. Right? We had some more we could ask you, but we're out of time. So, yes, thank you for putting up with us on our ridiculous questions. Let's take one more break now, and then we'll get right back with Empowerment Minute with the lovely Neicy.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Now we celebrate. Now we celebrate. Celebrate with Caribbean. Whenever we celebrate. Wherever we celebrate. Whenever. Celebrate with Caribbean. Whenever we celebrate. Wherever we celebrate. Whenever. Celebrate with Caribbean. Now we celebrate. Now we celebrate. Celebrate with Caribbean.
Caribbean Tropical Hard Cider. Drink responsibly.
Pictures looking at me too. Wearing all your shoes.
Welcome back back to Island Girl Talk, and this is our installment of Guys Perspective. If you're now tuning in, you missed a lot, but luckily for you, you could go back and check it out.
Yes.
Now, with that said, this is the segment where I come in to calm the space and easy place.
And mess up the place.
Every single time these girls we have to throw down.
Stay focused. Don't be distracted.
Start over, girl Neicy. Start over.
This is where I come in to calm the place and mess up the place. Easy space and mess up the place a little bit according to Jaiga. With what, ladies?
The Empowerment Minute. Woosa. Your turn, Jaiga. Yes. Well, okay, Neicy, bring it back around.
And this is what we call, what segment we call this, ladies? The Empowerment Minute.
Woosa.
Yes.
How did I feel?
Good.
Yeah.
We have that.
He's into these types of things. So yeah.
All right, so we're not going to get distracted with the masses. Right. So we have a very, very nice quote for you guys, because I always try to bring the quote in pairing with the topic of the day.
Right.
So today's quote
Here we go.
is your present circumstances don't determine where you can go. They merely determine where you're starting from.
Once more for the people in the back.
Run it again.
Your present circumstances don't determine where you can go. They merely determine where you are starting from.
Indeed.
So with that said, it doesn't matter what happened behind you. You could use this moment. We like to hit reset, restart, refocus. Basically, from this moment, you could decide what you want the outcome of your life to be, and you could start to work diligently and intentionally towards that direction.
Yes.
Indeed. Well said. And we hope that takes you to the end of the week,
And
right?
into next week.
And that's it. It's a wrap for Island Girl Talk. But before we go, let's check in with the chat rooms. We have Fire Wolfman saying, anybody seeing you, Papa, referring to Jaiga's advice. He goes on to say, well said, Jaiga. And then we have Martin Laborde saying, big up Island Girls, big up Jaiga, blessings. Thank you so much. Big up you. Macasey Glodden says, I love it. Larry J says, good day, ladies, viewers, and Jaiga. My question for Jaiga is how the slogan, great is the art form, and it shall always prevail, came about.
That's easy. Patrick Manning.
I
ain't gonna lie. I keep it from the old Patrick. Patrick used to say great to the PNM. I just move the PNM part and put the art form. Because it is great.
Nothing new under the sun.
Nothing new under the sun.
There you
I ain't
have it,
taking credit for it
Larry.
at all.
Then Macasey goes on to say, yes, banana bread with peanut butter is life.
I come like sweet bread and cheese.
And then he says Christian Mingle is popular with catfishes. With catfisher. And that's it for the chat room.
Yeah, that's what they're doing.
Guys, it is a wrap for Island Girl Talk. We want to thank Jaiga once more for gracing us with his fantastic presence and dropping gem after gem after gem on today's of wisdom on today's topic. And it's that kind of day because we spilling Caribbean. We are spilling Caribbean like crazy today, ladies and gentlemen. But it is a wrap for Island Girl Talk. Thank you so much. Be sure to join us next Wednesday from 12 p.m. to 2:30 p.m. right here on OURradio.fm. Island Girl Talk, where women are free to simply be unapologetically. Keep it classy. Bye.
No matter what I do, you can't leave my head for real. So I talk to 10 man, but I feel usually one. Now I end up with none. Ask me how I feel. Me do I fall in love. Me do I my hopes up. And you know my past. Me get hurt so much and that changed my path. You know what to do, baby. If you want me, just call me. If you need me, you know where to find me. You know what to do, baby. If you want me, just call me. If you need me, you know where to find me. Send my ID on the WhatsApp quick. And every time the boy go and shoot, don't miss. I like it when you call my phone, make it ring long, let him rush to my house quickly. Yeah, clingy, I'm like that. Little crazy, and if you play mad, me go and bite back. But don't play no games, and he know that if you try me, he go end up in a coma, yeah. You know what to do, baby. If you want me, just call me. If you need me, you know where to find me. You know what to do, baby.
The ground bad.
Are we that?
Bad. My super pull up in your party. Whole gang fully up, started. So we alright, you know. We alive. The ground bad. My super pull up in your party. Whole gang fully up, started. So we alright, you know. We alive. The ground bad.
I'll follow you down.
Anywhere that we go.
I'll follow you down.
Anywhere that we go.
I'll follow you down.
Anywhere that we go.
I'll follow you down.
Yeah, the ground bad.
Well, we could make it rain if you want that.